Hello and
Um,
welcome to Indiepocalypse Radio, your number one indie game bundle tie-in radio show. I'm Andrew, your host, and I'm here talking about anime music videos and the like. I'm getting back into anime music videos. I'm a big fan of them. I like them as a delivery method of music, and they're a way for me to cheat my own. Let's listen to good music, but I have to have lower, you know, view counts and these rules that I make up. Anyway, that's beside the point. We are here with our first guest, Kurt Colletta of would you say the institution of Hardcore Gaming 101? It's been around for a long time. I feel like,
yeah, I guess so. It's been around since 2003-ish.
yeah, I feel like there are a few things in gaming that are considered institutions in hardcore. If you need to learn about Trio the Punch, Hardcore
There
Gaming
it is.
101, it's got you covered. You may know it as that website that whenever you look up an obscure Japanese game, it's got good SEO. Hey, Kurt, how you doing?
That's our entire SEO strategy is just to write about something nobody else cares about.
Right, that's so like, how do I need to learn about Valis?
Yeah, there you go.
How, what happened to Valis?
Oh,
Did those become H
yeah.
games? I don't remember.
Yeah, Telenet has been out of business for forever. I think they went out of business in the mid 90s. And their rights have just bounced back and forth. And somewhere along the line, they ended up with a porn company.
Right.
So, yeah. So whoever actually has the rights now, I think they're bringing it back in some capacity.
Weird. I guess, is I see. I have no context for Japanese culture. I don't know if Japan has the same fervent love of nostalgia as the U.S. does.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. I mean, there are specific cultural things that like they had that we didn't have, just like we have that they didn't have. But
Yeah.
as far as like Valis is all girls in bikini armor, and that's kind of universal. So
Right. It's timeless.
yeah.
So anyway, I have a question here. I like to. Where are these? Oh no, I lost them. Speaking of video games, Kurt, and this is a question from
Yes.
a guest 2 episodes ago because I forgot to ask the group last week to send me questions. What is a thing that brings you joy when you run into it while playing a game?
I don't know. Good music. That's always a good thing. There's so many games that are super mediocre that I love just because I love listening to the music along with it. Uh, I
Yes.
guess most recently, I played through East 9, which
Yeah.
was fine. Like I love the East games, but the music just didn't catch me as much as like some of the other series, and that's a series that's known for its amazing music.
Yeah,
Uh,
we had a lot of East talk a couple episodes with Mela Santani, who is getting into Falcom lately.
oh, good. Yeah, he was on our podcast a while ago.
Yeah, I talked to him a little about getting into Nihon Falcom and tell me about the millions of Trails games in the world. But
Oh my god, dude, it would take forever to play through all the Trails games.
we will get to Trails later. Yes, the secret rule of the chat is I only talk to people I know, like upcoming guests. Speaking of upcoming guests to talk, I want to do that eventually. AMVs. I mentioned this is AMV night, which I think I'll do every Saturday, last Saturday of every month now because I think it's fun. We have some anime experts coming up, thus the AMV night. But Kurt, would you consider yourself an anime expert?
I used to be like in
Okay.
college, and then I fell out about it. But this was like 20 years ago, so like I mean, I recognized Azoken in the corner
Oh yes,
because
yes,
I read some of the manga. I almost read more manga nowadays than I do anime because it's something that's just like I could sit in bed and read like
yes,
at my own pace instead of watching something. But Azoken is really good from what I watched of it.
yes. I'm a very similar where I am more of a manga man myself, and then I will occasionally. I mean, I checked out Asian because I really like Yuasa, and I think like Yuasa and Science Saru just do like killer animation. So them doing a show about animation is
Yeah, I
like
know
it's perfect. But yeah, no, I similarly read a lot more manga than I watch anime, and then I'm like, do I really
yeah,
need to watch the anime adaptation of this? I don't really.
yeah.
But
It's
that's
nice and lively though, so it
yeah,
works well.
yes, I'm a big fan of that show. It's very good at like, I guess the manga obviously as well. It's very good at like really drilling down the creative process and like explaining. It gets really good at like Anyway, this is an anime podcast. What are we talking about? This is a radio show.
Oh, I could talk about old anime, but just like stuff I watched in the '90s.
Right.
So,
What do you think? What was your checking off point? Do you think like?
oh, geez, what was the last one? I remember watching oh God, Onagai Twins,
Okay, that's
and it was it was absolute garbage. Um, 'Cause, like around the era I was in college was like I
yeah.
used to make trips to New York City all the time to buy fan sub tapes and
Right. Right.
in the basement of Elizabeth Center, and then we knew mostly of our pirate MIRC channels,
Yeah.
and then BitTorrent came around, and then once BitTorrent came, everything moved digital, and that killed all the fan sub tape industry.
Yeah. Do you know what Miami Mike did?
There was a whole article that
I, d-
somebody wrote about it.
I know. I loved it. I got so excited when I read that article. It was
I was
very
like, wow, that's they really put in the legwork.
yeah.
All the petty scene drama.
Yeah. I honestly I think a lot about petty scene drama. I remember being at line at a PAX once and listening to petty scene drama about the DDR scene in New York. Like, not like the DDR esports scene, my mistake, the competitive DDR scene. And there are like these microcosms everywhere in the world of just like
Yeah.
no, I like yeah, because I similarly had like I checked out at one point, and you grow up and you put away childish things, and
I never put away video games, so they've
right,
always been
and then
around. But anime is just like
yeah,
kind of outgrow it. You're kind of looking for stuff that still fits your sort of stuff you like.
yeah,
Um,
right. Now, speaking of like, you're not just here because you're a cool person within the world of video games that does like helps to. Well, what would you say your title is over at Hardcore Gaming 101?
technically, whenever I sign contracts and everything,
Yeah.
it's either owner or editor in chief.
Okay.
Uh, those sound really self-important.
They do.
though.
I often wonder what I call myself as the editor of Indiepocalypse. I just usually call myself the editor if I need to give myself a name.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you would be the editor in chief.
yeah, I in the Discord I just call myself the top dog. But that doesn't sound official.
Yeah.
But you have in I don't the early like the mid I say the early days, but like I guess I was gonna correct myself and say not the early days, but I guess also still the early days because it's been around for so long now. But
Yeah.
I was Indiepocalypse was a temporary home, a wayward home, if you will, for like the Japanese or not indie obscurities, but the Japanese obscurity Volume 2 collection. Way back in the day, I guess.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I started writing.
Yeah.
I just kind of kept around.
'Cause I
Although,
really-
ironically, like I don't know, the book did okay, but I'm
Right.
still waiting for actual royalties to come in. So
Yeah, that's that's the tricky thing about somebody thought I was breaking even because they assumed the book royalties model that I was using, and I was not. I give people advance and royalties because I feel bad because I don't have any money to give them. But
yeah.
yes, no, I think because I thought that was a very cool book. I like, older, forgotten, not even good games sometimes, but just interesting ones.
Oh yeah, especially a lot of the '80s PC scene. A lot of those games are really rough to play nowadays.
Yeah.
But they have really cool ideas. Like they would just experiment with crazy shit.
Yeah.
That's why I love them. And I wrote in the intro, I'm hoping that somebody will either purchase the right of these games and do them right, or just make a ripoff or something like that.
Yes.
See a Last Armageddon 2020 or something like that.
Right. I I have an RPG Maker file that is my first, used for a game jam, my first attempt to rip off La Place No Ma that I never got around to doing. I just like the idea. I think it's neat. I think
it is, and I mean, there are a bazillion, H.P. Lovecraft sort of games, but none of them are the same sort of RPG.
Right.
I know you see Cthulhu pop up all the time because it's just public domain stuff, but
right. There's not I wonder if it was this is me not doing research of the tabletop game Call of Cthulhu is that old because it feels very much like the tabletop game. So I wonder if it was influenced by it.
I don't know. I mean, when I was writing, like, I put together a gigantic book about Japanese RPGs, which should be out in a couple months.
Yes, yeah. They,
Um,
if you don't know, Hardcore Game 101 puts out a lot of these like, what do you call them? They're not guides, but they're like books that have
yeah, books.
information in
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I go to conventions at my table and people pick them up. Like, what are these? Are these comics? Are these walkthroughs? Are they fan
Yeah,
fiction? I'm like, no, no.
they're kind of like
Uh,
they're encyclopedias.
yeah, I guess it's the closest thing.
Yeah, right.
The JRPG book is a little different because it's published by Bitmap Books,
Okay,
so like the layout is more their style.
right.
Uh, and because we're trying to fit so much stuff into what could conceivably be in it's already like a 650 page hardback.
Oh, geez,
So
yes,
the actual write ups are a little shorter than what would be on the site, but
yeah,
there's just a tremendous amount of content. But it does dovetail. Like all these things go together with different scenes, especially the 80s things. Like
yeah,
the history of Lodos War is entangled with the history of role playing games in Japan and also
right.
in anime.
Yes, that is you're right. It's a whole. Did they just make a new Lotus War game?
Yeah, kind of. There's that
Right.
Deedlit Labyrinth game that just came out, which
Okay.
I bought a while ago, and now it's out of early access, so I should remember to play it.
Right. Isn't like a is it a roguelike or a Metroidvania or both?
It's a Metroidvania. It's
Okay.
by this one company whose name I completely is blanked on, but they've done a bunch of other Metroidvania games that are pretty good. They did
Okay.
a Toho one.
I was gonna ask
They
if they
did
did that Toho one.
yeah, they did the Toho
Okay.
one.
I gotta ask this important question. What is Toho?
Um, it's this one guy. He really likes shoot 'em ups,
Okay.
and he's they're Dojin, they're homemade shoot 'em
Yeah. Yeah.
ups, and he's just been doing it since I want to say the late '90s on the PC '98.
Okay.
And I don't know, like every year or two, he just puts out a new game, and somehow it just became this gigantic cult phenomenon in Japan.
Yeah.
Um, because it
Until
has this whole roster of like cutesy girl characters. They don't
yeah.
look like typical anime girl. Like I don't know, it's a
Right.
very unusual style, I
Right.
think.
Like yeah.
But there's this whole scene, yeah.
Yeah. Like even aesthetically, like something like even if it was drawn in different styles, like oh that looks like a Toho. You know.
And there's been so many like he doesn't like a lot of the dojo scene. He doesn't care what people does with his
Right.
characters.
Okay. Yeah.
So comics, there's music, there's a bazillion games that feature Toho characters but aren't made by him and they aren't shoot 'em ups. I
Yeah.
think eventually they've gotten to the point where there are officially licensed Toho games, which a couple of them on the PS4. Um,
That's the thing
like
I think
a
I've always wondered because I'm like I think I knew it was like one guy, but like also everybody who makes these, does he just not care or does he like license all this stuff? And this guy's sitting on a Toho empire.
he is the Toho Empire guy. I mean, in the old days, I think he just like they did whatever because
Right.
they were also non-commercial projects.
Yeah.
Like the whole Dojin scene is just people go in a comic at, and they might technically make some money off of those sales, but
Yeah.
um,
But it's
this is
like
also before any real online distribution.
yeah, it feels like the vague impressions I've got feel very different like than the American indie scene in terms of not in both like terms of games and comics.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because I feel like the Dojin scene over there is something that like they aren't expected to make a career out of.
Right.
Like it's just something somebody does in their spare time.
Yeah.
At least as far as game stuff, like the comic stuff, there are people that do it, and then they use it to kind of get into um,
Yeah.
an official project.
Because they do have like they also have like a clearer pipeline than we do in the West of like getting into comics because they have like a billion magazines and everything.
Oh yeah, there's they pump out like bricks of that stuff on a weekly basis.
Yeah,
Uh,
and yeah,
so that's a
there's
way to get noticed.
right, and there's like there's contests, and then contests get you one shots, get you whatever. Like yeah, it's a lot. It's a much different scene than it is here. So it's straight as someone who's very into comics and is getting increasingly into like Japanese indie comics and trying to understand what that means. It's like I'm thinking a lot about it, and like, do I just go to Bookwalker and do I start downloading these magazines and then following people's Twitter pages and then it's a lot easier to buy American indie comics and it's what I like.
Yeah.
but this isn't a comic show. Again, we're going back to comics.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
like I said, it's all
right,
connected. Like it's
right.
all part of the same culture.
Exactly, and this isn't really a video game show either. It's just a show where I come and hang out and talk to people, and you're a person that
The
I'm kind
first,
of hang out to
sorry,
talk to.
the first time I ever actually ran into Toho, uh, I was in Tokyo, and they have stores that are basically just devoted to Dojin stuff,
Okay,
like either new stuff, like that would be sold at Comic Cat, or just
right.
like
So,
recycled, like resold stuff.
so are they like consignment shops basically, or like
I don't know like their
right?
royalty model, but I think so.
Okay, because yeah, that's. I was trying to think like I guess it would just be like an independent bookseller. Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
kind of. It's just like a big place. Like Akihabara is full of places like that.
right.
Um, and they had music that was it was FM synth music, and it sounded a lot like Etrian Odyssey.
Okay.
Uh, so it just caught my ear immediately, and I picked up all the CDs around them, and like that stuff was for the PC 98 computer,
Yeah.
and they were very well known for coming up with that really distinct FM synth sound. And then later on, I learned that those were all the soundtracks to the very first Toho games.
Okay.
I've barely played them, to be honest,
Right.
because it's so many of them. Like I don't even want to start
Right.
to think about them.
And they're just like are they bullet hells or are they simply shmups as they were?
They are definitely bullet hells, as far
Okay.
as my understanding. Like any of the ones that I've played are.
Right. But yes. Anyway, but bullet hells and Tohos aside, out of the Toho, we
Oh yes.
yes, outside of our Toho hole, we have other stuff. But like I was saying, oh wait, I just refreshed and I have a question. And wait, sorry, Kurt, I have a question here from Anonymous. How many units
Okay.
does the typical issue of Indiepocalypse sell?
Oh, how much? What in the what?
How many units does the typical issue of Indiepocalypse sell?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's weird. These are questions for our guest people, not for me. But to answer that question, if Anonymous is here, I'd say they never break even. Break even is I don't. I can actually honestly just look that up. What is it? 168. I'd say like 10 to 15 copies, maybe, counting in Patreon and stuff like that. But that's the answer to that question. Get that question out of the way. I take questions through indiepocalypse.com/questions because I do not cultivate parasocial relationships with my fans by reading chats. Speaking of parasocial relationships, Kurt, that's a bad transition.
It's a good try.
Yeah, I was like, I can't weasel my way out of that corner I put myself in. But anyway, so you mentioned earlier that you also have a show. What is the name of that show, perhaps?
I wouldn't entirely say it's my show. It's
Oh,
my
right, you know
site's
what I mean.
show. Yeah, but it's the top 47,858 games of all time.
Yes, I could not remember the number.
Yeah, that was just it's mostly run by uh the producer. He goes by the name Xerxes,
Yes.
and I guess that was the amount of entries on Moby Games at the time.
Okay.
I think it's actually ballooned substantially since then.
Right.
That's where they came up with that seemingly arbitrary number.
But
And kind of the gimmick is that just people will nominate a game, and then everybody, a bunch of the people will play it, and then discuss it and sort of rank it on this list. And the whole idea is that over the course of, several hundred episodes, you'd have this ridiculous Frankenstein of a list.
right. And
And that's where we're at.
true. What is your number? Do you have what is your number one at the moment? Do you remember?
Oh, what is it? I gotta look it up. It's definitely something like normal, like Tetris or something
Right.
like that.
Super Mario World.
I think the highest one that's not one of those, like Near Automata, just like the people that were on that episode absolutely loved Near Automata, so that is extremely high.
I've never played Nier Automata, but I do love Nier a lot. The first game.
There's parts of the story that I like better about the first one, but Automata plays so much better.
That's what I've heard, but it it was like such a distinctly bizarre like game that's like that just takes so many like stylistic swings, and I appreciate so much about it. I love
Yeah,
when it just becomes Resident Evil for a chapter. Is
it's like they have that remake sort of coming out soon.
right with the cool dad, not the ugly dad.
Oh, he's not even a dad. He's the older brother.
Not interested.
Yeah, I like the cool dad. Whatever dad.
Right.
It was definitely a prototype for the dad games we got lately, but I thought that was a lot more interesting than brooding teen. So
You're right. Right. We have, as someone who covers, all other Japanese games, I'm sure they have enough brooding teens.
oh, they're everywhere.
And like
That's why.
I
Sorry,
feel
go
like
ahead.
when I blowing my mind when I like Final Fantasy 10, like Orin's like 22 or something ridiculous. I
I
think
know.
I'm like, excuse you? I thought he was supposed to be like 40.
Oh,
But
that's why I love Yakuza 7. If you played that at all,
sorry, he's only 35. My mistake. Sorry, Orin. I feel like
but he's still like falling apart.
yeah, yeah. I feel like there was some JRPG like I saw, and like I thought he was like the older guy, but he was like early 20s. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
So Yakuza, tell me about old men punching each other.
Oh yeah, that's great. Everybody in that game is like in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah, I just recently in my long studying of kanji have got to the word oyabun. I'm like, I know what that word means. I have played Yakuza before. I played like all of them, but the last two. Then I went through that like journey. Kurt,
I only recently started playing it, so I
yeah,
mean, like I messed with them, but 7 is like the first one that I've fallen into.
okay. I did the thing that I do where I just start at the very beginning, and I bought Yakuza 1 and 2 on the PS2 forever ago. Let me dig those out and play through
Yeah,
them
I did
all.
too, and I never played them. And then of course they have the remakes out now, so it doesn't matter.
Right. I'm starting last year. I've been trying to get better about all these games that I bought at some point during my disposable income teenage years. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I really ought to play through, Persona or something. But now I can just play them on emulators.
When I used to actually have a commute to an office to go to, I had like a 70-minute train ride each way. So I caught up on a lot of 3DS and Vita
Right.
RPGs that way.
Honestly, on a 7-hour train ride, depending what kind of train it is, like a
Yeah.
train or like a subway.
It's an NJ Transit, so it's like a commuter train.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you could bring a laptop. You could catch up on everything.
Yeah, yeah, it was a comfortable. Like New Jersey Transit sucks, but like the trains there aren't so bad.
No, I kind of wish we had more. I enjoy Amtrak, so just gonna
Yeah, similar to that.
take that bold stance. I've taken the like a commuter rail once, and it was fine.
Yeah.
I liked it, but anyway, so did you? So Yakuza 7 was like your first foray, like true foray to Yakuza.
Yeah, and I like you know, I finished a bunch of games this year because I was actually at home. So like,
Right.
I completed Final Fantasy VII and Sakura Wars and Trials of Mana and
Oh,
13 Sentinels.
I've got one of the Sakura Wars, the one for the
Yeah.
Wii. Is that the one?
Oh, okay. So that's actually Sakura Wars 5.
Okay, tell me about
But
Sakura Wars.
Okay, so the series started in the mid 90s. It was sort of a combination of a Bishoujo dating game
Yeah.
and a strategy RPG. Uh, it has a very unique world. It sort of takes place in like 1920s, 1930s Japan, but they have steam technology.
Right.
And also, Japan is being invaded by monsters from another dimension.
Okay. I just
And
want to.
but yeah, these are the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They came out originally for the Saturn. So you're in charge of this all-female troupe who during the day they put on theater shows, and then when the monsters come out, they jump into their steam power mechas and you fight them.
Okay.
So those were all like that was during the time when Sega hated RPGs. They didn't think that they were worth selling.
Right.
And I mean, to an extent, it costs money to dub those things. It was kind of before anime really took off here.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
I feel like it wasn't until like Final Fantasy VII and Ava and then Toonami and all that sort of stuff where
Yeah.
people understood what that sort of stuff, and it got more popular.
Right. Yeah. It was became like marketable, and like the West became a reasonable audience for it.
Yeah. Oh, I was like America. Europe was more finely tuned for it. Because if you talk to somebody who's, from Spain or Italy in particular, there's so many anime series that they got when they came out that like may never have made it into English at
Weird.
all.
I wonder if they have like a different like cartoon culture or something over there, or
They
what.
absolutely do. Um, just because like Dragon Ball, they showed Dragon Ball when it was on. Saint Seiya, I don't know. I think that was in Spain. Like my wife, she spent when she was a kid, she spent her summers in Spain, and she would tell me about the sort of stuff she would watch when she was a kid.
Yeah.
Um,
I had the most I have is I have like vague recollections of like Galaxy Express 999 on like Sci-Fi Channel or something.
yeah, I mean it's just stuff that was on that anime block.
Yeah. Like
Okay, but Sakura Wars anyway.
yes.
So none of that stuff in it's kind of sort of died with the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
and then Sega tried to buy it, bring it back. There's a remake of the first game on the PS2 that I think they kind of created in order to bring to America, and for some reason it just didn't. And then the fifth one actually did come out. The first two games take place in Japan.
Yeah.
The second one, the first two in Japan. The third one takes place in Paris. I forget where the fourth one is, and the fifth one takes place in New York City.
Okay.
So all the characters are American, and I guess they theoretically would have helped sell to Americans a little more.
Yeah.
It didn't, and the game completely flopped.
Right.
Because Sega didn't even bring it over. Nipponichi brought it over, and it was like 5 years after it came out in Japan, so
Yeah.
it just didn't take off.
I think I got it because I was like, Soccer Wars, that's like a Japanese series. I should get this before it becomes like weird and prohibitively expensive.
I think it's weird and prohibitively expensive now, so that's always a good.
That's what I found out about a lot of the games that I bought, especially in like the PS1 era.
Yep.
Because my price charting account was going to get closed down. So I was like, I guess I should add my games to this. And then it was like, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like $200. I'm like, oh, I paid like 40 for that game.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff that I would just like buy habitually, especially those sort of Japanese games that I knew they'd be hard to get later.
Yeah.
And I guess it seems foolhardy because they would just kind of go on a shelf for years and not get touched.
Right.
But then, like, when I worked on the Japanese RPG book, like, I almost didn't need to buy anything because it was just sitting right there.
Yeah.
Because any of the games I would need, especially DS stuff, was just a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah. No. Right. A lot of my DS stuff that I even got like back in the day. I think it was not like it was very much not full complete in box.
Yeah.
Oh, so long, my love. I was for some reason in my mind its subtitle was "Let Us Cling Together." I don't know why, but it's not.
That's the Tactics Ogre.
Yes, it is. That's why. No, Sakura Wars is so long, my love.
But anyway, so finishing up Sakura Wars is
Yes.
they did a soft reboot in Japan, and that one came out here last year. But they changed the character designer because it used to be the Oh My Goddess guy, Kosuke Fujishima.
Okay.
And now it's Tite Kubo, who is Bleach.
Yes.
So it looks wildly different.
But at the same, what do you say about Bleach? I think he's good at drawing clothes. He's got like I love his he's got a good sense of fashion design, I think.
He does. So did Kosuke Fujishima too. Like he really was like somebody who obviously looked at fashion magazines.
But sorry, let's not worry about Sakura Wars and get too invested.
get it off in all sorts of directions.
Now I have to like drag out the Wii, I actually when I got it I was like, wait, is this just a visual novel? I never got there's so much
a
visual
lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of visual
a lot of text. It is basically half the dating sim, so
yeah. I don't think I ever got to like a strategy portion because it was like, oh, it works, and I don't feel like sitting through all this right now.
Yeah, a lot of talking.
But eventually, with all the time I don't have, I will find a way to get back into these weird Japanese games. I mean, I just want to get into like stuff nobody cares about anymore. I mean, you mentioned earlier at the top that you wish somebody would buy, like Valis or whatever. And part of part of my like if Indiepocalypse made a lot of money, I would like Criterion style be like, let me go to Japan and like buy up all these orphaned licenses and stuff like that, so that people could like port and play games forever. I
There are
like
people that do that. Like just today, there's this, I want to say, European company called Pixel Heart,
okay.
and they got the licenses for stuff from Visco.
What is
Do you know who
Visco?
Visco
I do
is?
not know who
Yeah,
Visco is.
nobody knows who Visco is. Um, they made a game called a shoot 'em up for the Neo Geo called Andra Dunos.
Okay, do not know.
Not one of the Neo Geo's better shooters. They made another Neo Geo game called Ganryu, also not particularly good. But they're making sequels to them because they have the rights. So why not?
Right?
I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. That's the tricky thing about games is that you can't just be like, I have the film canister just to time to put it on the new format. You have to like port it so it works.
Yeah, it's a lot more like those. They actually, I don't know if that was that company, but whoever owns the rights to those Visco games, they're pretty loose with it. So
Yeah.
there are people putting out aftermarket Dreamcast games. That's basically just like a Neo Geo emulator, slightly configured, and then the game. And like they're legit. They're not like pirate stuff.
Right.
Uh, just wowed at the effort for these games, which like aren't necessarily awful, but just aren't games anybody really cares about.
No, but I honestly I think that's the beauty of games, and I think that's why we need more like people need to care more about the real middle of the road games, that just
Yeah,
nobody talks about. It's why I like, HG 101 is there's a reason that it comes up in search, high SEO because like nobody cares about what was it like Cyberblock Orange, one of those games.
yeah, yeah. That game is a rad as hell soundtrack too.
Yeah, no, I listen. I'm like this thing whips 100%, but like somebody needs to pay attention to these games that like it's more that I think games don't need to be a big monoculture, and there needs to be a subculture of like weird shit nobody cares about, but
Yeah.
that somebody can care about. And as we rapidly approach the end of this segment, Kurt, I got to ask you, what is the next long-running Japanese franchise completely alien to the English-speaking world that you wish would make its breakthrough?
Oh, geez, I need to go through like a list or something like that. A lot of them have made their way here. Like the days that there were these really obscure games that never came out here are kind of over.
Yeah.
Um, like every once in a while, there'll be something that comes out in Japan that doesn't get a localization, and it's usually things that surprise me because they're kind of low budget things that. Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense that they wouldn't, but like stuff from M2, like the last stuff I got from Japan were a bunch of PS4 shoot 'em ups, like
Right.
cave games.
Okay.
And I'm surprised that they didn't get any sort of localization for those.
Right, because I guess you really don't need to fully. Some of those even have like English menus, I'm sure.
It depends on whether they have the foresight for it. Like
Right.
the Astro City cabinet, which
Yeah.
originally that was Japan only, but they've had some distributors that brought out ones here in America. Like all the menus for those games are in English, even if you import it.
Yeah. Because
Um, yeah. What? Yeah. What else is Japan only at this point? Like they're all old games.
Right, right. That's what I
And
mean. Is there something that you think is like hidden away, waiting to be rediscovered?
oh man, I need to look through my stuff because there's a lot of RPGs. I mean, Dragon Quest is finally caught up. We've gotten almost
Yeah.
all the mainline Dragon Quest games.
Wait, do we not
Final
have them?
Fantasy's caught up.
I was gonna. Did we not have them all? Is there one missing? Do we have a weird blind spot?
We don't have 10 because that's an MMORPG.
Right, right. Okay. Yes.
There's some spin-offs that we haven't gotten, but
Yeah.
I don't think those are really major.
Right. 'Cause, I mean, we do have like monsters and Joker and
Shin Megami Tensei, there's some of the old ones we never got.
okay. There's still a couple. Yeah. Right. Right. Like the early Shin Megami Tensei ones. Yes.
Yeah, like the Famicom and Super Famicom games. Like one of them ended up in English on the iPhone. Where it's withered and died because I don't think you can even play it on modern
Right.
iPhones anymore.
Well,
Oh,
let's all cross our fingers and hope for the success of Famicom Detective Club. And
oh yeah, that's a good one. I'm really happy that they're bringing that out.
I kind of hope they. I love that for someone who has very little experience with the PC. That PC like era of games, I do love that aesthetic of early Japanese adventure games.
Yeah,
So I hope.
that's something that's like so totally unknown, but like I like filling in the blanks because we understand Japanese adventure games. Like I like Snatcher, but the
Yeah.
amount of people played Snatcher is not very high.
No.
But like Phoenix Wright and Danganronpa are like relatively popular here, and those all have their roots in games from the 80s, including Famicom Detective Club. So it's really great that we're getting that particular piece out there.
So what I'm saying is, I hope in those new updated versions, they also just have the old games in there.
That would be my hope too.
Oh, you know what? As we sign off, you know what I realized that I want the rest of is I want all those Fire Emblems.
Yeah, those would be cool. I mean,
Like,
they're a little rough to play.
yeah,
Well, no, the Super Famicom ones are. Well, the first one's a little iffy. The second
yeah,
one, the second Super Famicom one, which is the fourth game, is really good. And I'm surprised that we've never got any version of that.
yeah. And I
I have a
feel like
feeling
you
that they're probably going to remake that one next.
right. I think you could tweak the numbers a little, like because I played through the DS Dragon Quest games, and after playing through like the NES Dragon Quest games, I'm like, oh, they definitely like smoothed out the leveling curve like immensely in these DS versions.
Oh yeah. Well, like the interface is
Yeah,
just really,
but
especially like if you played the Famicom version of the first game that they brought in English not too long ago, it's hard to play.
yeah. All I can think of though is that posses and rounding them up. So as we round up our posse and we go on to breaks, I think that was like a something awful let's play. I don't remember. Anyway, let's conscript ourselves a posse and round them up, and we're gonna go on a break. Kurt, thanks for joining me. We're gonna go back to AMV Town. I'll see you at the end of the show with our big group segment. Thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. We are here with one of those aforementioned anime experts, Chris. Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
So AU Densetsu started in 1992,
Okay.
but it didn't really become popularized until believe 2011 with the release of Sora no Kaseki, starring Estelle Bright and her orphaned adoptive brother Joshua Bright.
Now, is
How
that
much
first
time do you
game? Is
have?
that first game available? They ever go back and put that in English?
I don't think so. I don't know.
No.
I only got in with Trails.
Right. Yeah. No, Melis, I think he's talking about like a long history of Nihon Falcom, and I played like a decent amount of East game or a couple of East games.
Same. I think I played up to 7 or 8, and I don't remember if it was on air or off air, but the soundtracks were talked about, and the soundtrack for Origins absolutely rips.
Yes, Kurt was mentioning that the East soundtracks were very good, and he was disappointed by 9 soundtrack, I believe. But
But before we spiral out, I do want to give a free plug to Kurt because during his segment, Googled him because I'm insecure and want to know who I'm up against.
yes,
And specifically checked out the Twitter, and there's a link about it, or there's a link at the top to a book they put out, apparently. Hardcore Gaming 101 presents the unofficial guide to Shin Megami Tensei and Persona,
yes,
which I absolutely adore both those series, and that sounds super fascinating.
yeah, I have. I think I have the Sega book and the Japanese obscurities book, and maybe one or two others. They're very good books. Like that's a very listen. We're Pat's Kurt segment, but let me say he has a very good website. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it, but it sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's like if you ever need to learn about Sheer the Wanderer.
Which I do because it's on my Steam wish list.
Right. If you need to know where Sheer the Wanderer came from and learn all about Mystery Dungeon games. Why is this game?
I don't know about that one.
Why is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon?
Are those the same as Chocobo's Dungeon?
Yeah, those.
All right, I'm out.
I believe Mystery Dungeon might. I wonder if that's just like the term for Japanese roguelike, or that's like the term they used for that style of game. But they weren't roguelikes.
Oh my god, I never. No, because you started over. There was like no Oh, I mean, I guess that is a roguelike,
Yeah.
right?
But Chocobo's Dungeon has soft. It's a rogue. It's Chocobo's Dungeon 2. Is that a roguelike or a roguelite? Because you have that persistent town. You retain your levels, but you lose all your equipment.
Yeah. Okay. I had not considered that ever.
Yeah.
Chocobo's Dungeon 2 was my first roguelite.
Yes. Or is it a mystery dungeon game, which I think might be a genre in and of itself? Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway,
These are questions neither of us are equipped to answer.
you are a co-host of. You may know Chris here as a co-host of the not much of an institution my first anime.
How dare you, first of all?
Well, it is less of an institution.
Oh, yes, very much so.
I was called an institution last week, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. I mean, it's my
What does it take to be an institution?
be around for over a year.
Okay, we are not an institution.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just very weird the idea that somebody would see me at that at this point. But I think there are people who do, and it's just a very bizarre thing to grapple with, you know.
Yeah, I'll be an institution. Anyone can call me an institution. I'm down.
But anyway, you talk about anime, right? So let's talk about anime. So what's oh god, what's anime? And should we all be truly pronouncing it anime?
Oh boy, so that second one is like an existential crisis kind of question. Where yes, we should also be pronouncing it karate.
Yes,
but come on, we're not
Yes.
gonna.
Right.
No one wants to do that.
No. Yes. So okay. So on a semi-related question, English
Yes.
versus Japanese titles. What is your when do you switch to English? When do you stick to Japanese?
I think it's what I knew first.
Okay.
And Trails is like a perfect example, right? Like I could call it Au Densetsu for Legend of Heroes, or I could call it like Sen no Kiseki for Trails of Cold Steel.
Right.
But I knew it as Trails of Cold Steel. I know the series as Trails, so I call it Trails instead of like Kiseki or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of the principle of it for me, anyway.
Oh no. The fact that Mana game actually came out in the West has burned my brain of what that Japanese title was, because no one calls it that anymore. Oh, Seiken Densetsu 3. There we go. Found it.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Probably a Densetsu somewhere in there.
Yes. It's very strange. I slowly learning the language, and like I semi-approached, not like my level of Spanish, but I was just reading like Japanese mini comics that had like, you know, English translation inserts, and I was like, oh, I could kind of read some of these sentences without the inserts. But like,
So you know that Keikaku means plan.
I know
You don't need the translator's note now.
No, I don't. I know all about Kikakus and how they mean plans. Yeah, I know all about these. No, I actually have not learned Kikaku yet, but I have learned a different word. They use preparation or plan. But all words mean different things, and turns out, you know, all languages have homonyms and
Yes.
synonyms.
Yes, and they're very confusing when you don't know the language,
Yes, but
especially like how it's spoken.
right, because it has a different sense of structure than English.
Yeah, and a lot of it I believe is like based on like pitch and tone and like emphasis.
Right, but like even just written, the sentence structures.
Mm.
Their words. It's not just those other Romance languages where I just flip the old adjectives and nouns around,
Yeah.
and things are there's a lot of ofs. Although it does have like the Spanish equivalent of the of, you know, the day to some extent.
Yeah.
So that translates well to me. But subs or dubs.
I mean, come on. It's subs. It's always going to be subs. Everyone picks subs. If you do dubs, that's fine. Like, it's cool, especially since you're probably getting a lesser experience.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what you want. No, I'm kidding. Dubs are fine for the most part, from what I understand. Obviously, there's some with like truly great dubs, like Cowboy Bebop, Full Metal Alchemist, both versions. Samurai Champloo, just probably anything with in like the prestige level of anime.
Right.
Except for maybe like Ghibli movies. Although those are kind of fascinating
You don't like
because
Patrick Stewart?
well, I'm just gonna when I think feral wolf princess raised by a wolf god, I don't think Claire Danes. So,
Huh.
I mean, take that how you will, but they are fascinating in a way where they have like, especially since a lot of them came back in the day where they still used like not actual actors, because you know voice acting is a very difficult thing and a real talent, but like physical actors, like movie actors, TV
Right.
actors, and
Famous
cast them
actors.
in the roles as these animated characters, and
Actors-
it's just so weird.
Actors who, if you put their names on a poster, people would be like, yes, I know who this person is.
Yes, I will go watch the new Gillian Anderson animated movie. Jillian?
I think it's
Gillian Anderson, Gillian Jacobs, right?
Yes, Gillian Anderson.
Or is it Gillian Jacobs, Gillian Anderson?
Nope. No,
Or is it Gillian for both?
No, it's Gillian Jacobs because they call her Gilly on Comedy Bang Bang. So
Okay.
that's how I remember.
Got it. And that it's actually kind of an interesting thing because Anthony, spoilers for later.
No, no spoilers, please. No spoilers.
Oh,
on
I'm sorry.
Even though I'm running like a lot of spoilers in these AMVs.
We're not gonna talk about evil.
Could I put stream info? Could I put spoilers?
Yeah, go for it.
Is that acceptable?
We are going to spoil all anime.
I'm putting spoilers. Yeah, let's spoil all animes. Quick spoiler on anime? What's your?
I can't think of one I actually want to spoil.
What do you think is the most spoilable anime?
Oh, Attack on Titan.
Okay, yeah.
100%.
Oh, you mean that it's all?
Don't spoil Attack on Titan. Please.
That it's all pseudo-fascist stuff.
I mean, I don't think it's hiding the political stuff in Attack on Titan. It's more of like, I know of some things that happen in Attack on Titan regarding characters and whether or not they are still alive, and it makes me very sad.
Listen,
maybe ruined my chance of ever getting caught back up on that series.
Let me tell you about Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan sucks, dude.
Probably.
It's just like a collection of neat character designs in a bad story.
Yeah, but isn't that anime?
Yeah, it is actually anime in a lot of ways. That is like truly. I realized that like after a manga ended, I stopped going to Viz because like even though I have them, I'm like I just stopped reading all the other stuff I was reading because the thing that was drawing me there, I was not being drawn to anymore. So I was just like, I'll catch up to them in like a year and see what these character costumes did, you know?
Yeah. And I think that actually is kind of an interesting topic, but just to answer or to finish my previous thought.
Yeah.
Anthony does sometimes do dubs and surprisingly will call out like certain lines that or like we'll even remember certain lines that I want to call out from the sub that have like that translate differently and like try to work with wordplay, and it's kind of interesting to see the differences between subs and dubs and how they try to keep some stuff intact, or even just like like we're watching a show right now and one of the characters is referred to as an empress. Like they're obviously leading into a tarot conversation because anime loves tarot.
Yeah.
And someone jokes that she's a queen, and honestly, that joke probably doesn't super play in a way because I don't really get like what the joke is there by calling her a queen instead of an empress. But in the dub, she's referred to as a dominatrix.
Okay.
Which makes a lot more sense to us. We understand what that is. We know what that means now, right?
Yeah. Okay. So important question: subs versus doms.
Subs
or doms?
I mean, hey, whatever you're comfortable with, really. Same answer.
Okay. Perfect. So you were saying about anime for children.
Characters not existing in anime, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually literally had this thought earlier today because I was doing nothing.
Perfect thing to do.
I had this realization of like, so doing this podcast has been kind of eye-opening in a way because anime is maybe like the only, and I hesitate to call it a medium, but it kind of is treated like its own medium.
They put out so much of it.
Yeah, but it's like the only one of those that I never really, for any reason, engaged with critically in a way that I have with like anything else. And now that I am doing that, first of all, I'm gonna go on a hot take here. Anime is good.
That's. I feel like that's you not betraying the brand. Be honest with me. No one. Listen, I'm gonna turn off the stream real quick. Click. Be honest with me. I turned off the stream. Tell me your real opinions about anime.
God, I hate anime. I can't wait to get off this stupid podcast.
When is you gonna do my last anime?
God, dude, any day now. I'm so sick of anime. It's all the same.
Is that
shoving giant breasts in your face.
right? Fucking
Those ones are mostly fine.
giant moe eyes everywhere.
Yeah, dude. No, anime is good.
Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of surprising. Like, another hot take coming in.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop's really good.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think it's a legitimately like a fantastic show, like masterpiece level, deserves to be talked about when people talk about like prestige television. But
Right.
because it doesn't star a sad middle-aged white guy and span 5 seasons,
It's not
no
a-
one talks about
not
it.
a-
It doesn't earn that.
Hey, Spike is kind of a tough man making tough decisions.
He is, but first of all, he's not middle-aged.
Right.
Second, I don't
How-
remember
how old is
what
Spike?
Spike's ethnicity is. I think he's in his like 20s.
Maybe that's who I was thinking of when I thought he was older, and then he was like 22.
Oh, I think he's in his like late 20s.
Right. Maybe I'm not. I will click. You know what? I wonder if it's that Tales from Symphonia guy.
Yeah, maybe. Although no, Oren is totally legit. Like that man is 40 years
Yeah,
old.
He's 35.
I don't care what he tells you. That man is 40 years old.
I think it's that guy from Tales of Symphonia. I think you know the guy I'm talking about. The guy who's like the devil
No.
or whatever,
I don't.
or he's like a bad angel or something.
I barely remember. Zelos?
No, that guy's. That's,
He's the only character. Lloyd. Nope.
Zealous is the pervert. Lloyd.
Uh-huh.
Tales of Symphonia is the best-selling Tales game in the world.
Bummer. Vesperia is way better.
Anyway,
Uh
keep going. Keep
but
talking.
but yeah, I
Kratos.
like it's actually just where was I? Why was I talking about
You're
this?
talking about anime is good,
Yeah, but why?
but it's not prestige television.
Oh, right. Because I think like part of what's fascinating about anime is like you're right, there is so much of it, and I'm almost really looking forward to the point where we run out of good anime to do on the podcast
Oh, so you get
and have to get into like the actual stuff that's like, what are we doing? And I'm curious if at like that point we would warm to it, because
I believe that's what they call Stockholm syndrome.
maybe, but also part of what I've noticed is that because anime typically is like so condensed, right?
Yeah.
You get your full show in the course of like 26 episodes, 52 episodes
Basically
if it's
13
a long one.
Basically 13 to 26 hours.
Yeah, and
You could binge it in a day, no problem.
so for the most part, it has to come out swinging, like, and it asks the audience to buy in, like, on the idea that here's Attack on Titan, right? There's this girl that likes potatoes, and now she's everyone's favorite character based on that one character trait. And anime kind of ask you to do that, and the anime audience is totally willing to meet anime there and be like, yeah, you introduced one thing I like about this character, I'm in.
Right.
Where so much other TV is like, no, follow us on our slow burn over 6 seasons and the payoff will be worth it. I promise. These characters are kind of interesting. But anime is just like, I'm going to try and entertain you in the first 3 episodes. Please just be with me here.
Yeah. Please buy our light novels.
Yeah.
This is why we made the anime.
It's so much less of a commitment, too.
Yeah.
You can bang out an anime in an afternoon.
Listen, I have bemoaned the lack of 30-minute like dramas in the West. Like we need them. We need them bad.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll go and watch like all that stuff too. Like I'm gonna finish Better Call Saul or whatever. But man, I just wish it's such a weird space and such a weird like. There is some stuff like it, I guess, but there's also like nothing else like it.
Right. I think this came up a little last year when it got canceled, but I think the Venture Brothers is the only thing that's like anime in the US. And that's not like Avatar, which is like more geared for children.
Yeah, I think Avatar is all ages. Avatar holds up.
It is, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
without the all, except rather not all ages geared. Something that can be like,
Yeah.
oh no, this is for adults. It's also going to have dense worlds and storytelling and like complicated characters. That it also, I mean, that is also a show of here is this character's trait right up front.
Yes, exactly.
Please like
And
them.
Yeah, please like this character's trait because that's it for the next 35 episodes.
But then we might fall in love with this character, and then in season 7 you get all about fucking Shore Leave's backstory.
I don't know who that is.
He was whatever. He was like they were like. I'm not going to explain Venture Brothers lore. Shore Leave was. Well, you see, Shore Leave was secretly he was part of the OSI. He went undercover. They were gay, but then they were secretly not. And then he was because they were going undercover as these Christian boat evangelists or something. But he was secretly undercover and working for Sphinx, which is part. Anyway, I think it's a great show.
So Kiryu Kazuma is a yakuza. Okay.
And then
so Ichiban Kasuga is a yakuza.
Yes, and then he gets a thing, and everyone throws him up in the air, and then the chicken is running a massage parlor.
The chicken? No. The chicken works at your venture capital business.
Okay, your .com business.
And if you talk to it enough, it lays eggs.
And do you eat the eggs for good points?
You can sell the eggs. You can lay golden eggs that are worth 10,000 yen or 1,000,000 yen, 100,000 yen. I don't know.
10,000 yen doesn't sound like a lot of yen.
No, it's probably more than that.
But that's like well on the side of the point. Chris, what's something in a game that when you see you love a lot? They're like a broad kind of like, oh man, I love this kind of thing. I'm glad this game has it. I'm so excited. It brings me joy.
So I guess strictly speaking from like a story perspective here, I like scenes that have literally zero consequence or implication on the greater plot.
Okay.
I love a scene that is just like, here's the characters doing something and it literally doesn't matter. You could cut the scene and the game would not change at all.
A slice of life, if you will.
Yes, but not one that necessarily like is as a vehicle to like push the characters forward. It's just like, look at them live in this moment for a little bit.
But listen, let's go down to this wild. How much time do we go down to this wild rabbit hole of? I think that stuff is all actually also essential.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree, but
Okay.
at the same time, I feel like you could cut it and it'd be like fine.
It's not plot relevant, but it is experience of the art relevant.
Yeah, so almost like a really good side quest.
Okay.
I mean, not necessarily, but you could think of it like something like that. And since we talked about Tails briefly,
Yes.
also a main character who is not afraid to get stuff done. Too many characters have to be like no, I'm the good guy. I'm not going to stoop to the level of the villain. But man, Yuri Lowell just straight up kills people, and it's fantastic. Because dude, you don't got time to deal with that villain. Just cut him, get it over with.
We need him to come
He's
back.
not going to stop.
We need to come back later. It's yes, okay. The extreme moral high ground.
Yeah.
Whatever, but maybe I'll get. No, I'm not gonna get into Tails. I was gonna say let's get into Tails, but I'm not gonna get into Tails.
I think there's a new one coming out.
Let's all get into Tails. You know.
Let's not.
I should play the Tails theme on this.
Oh God, Tales of Graces, that one.
Tales of Grace is F.
Yeah, man.
Some high quality. I'm never gonna reach the point of just starting to play anime intros on here. That is too far. That is a bridge.
Is it?
That's a bridge that I shall never cross.
Let me tell you about Persona.
I mean, yeah, Persona. There's plenty of good anime intros. Yeah, I could play Dragon's Dogma on this show every week. I would love it.
And you probably should.
I honestly, I might get that. Right now, for a while, my lead-in was like, since I used the Final Fantasy VI Opera for my usual kind of like, hey, the pre-show image, I found a song called "Tear Down the Opera House" that I was playing because it's like 2 minutes. Then I started playing "Keep Drinking" by Drinking Boys and Girls Club. Is my new official intro, official intro. But maybe I'll just make a Dragon's Dogma. I don't know. Who knows? Wow.
See, this is I'm a bad influence on you, I think.
Yeah, I have. Listen, the real reason I give myself, besides to like be like cool indie guy, and that I actually do enjoy listening to a lot of that music anyway. The reason why I give myself that kind of like sub 50,000 Spotify monthly for like picking artists for the show is so I don't get extremely self-indulgent. And just I get extremely self-indulgent when I do like MIDI nights, and that's where I can play like Prince and stuff. But no Prince AMVs like that I could find easily, at least.
They all got taken down by his lawyers.
Right. No, there were some, but I specifically wanted Let's Go Crazy because that intro of Dearly Beloved, I think is a good intro to every and any show that anyone has. But anyway, we are, I believe, approaching the end of our segment already as these 30 minutes zoom on by. Because it's very easy when you make all your segments 30 minutes long, then you just need to know, can you multiply by 30? And if you can, then you know when the segments end. So as we approach the end of this segment and move on to our next segment, Chris, I have to ask you, what is the first anime? Once you've gone through all the good anime, what is the first anime you think you'd offer up for your show?
Oh boy. That's definitely something I would have to play by ear. There's a part of me. I honestly already thought about this, but maybe like a show called Kanan.
Okay.
Which is a sequel to the FMV visual novel 428 Shibuya Scramble.
Okay. Wait.
About like assassins. The 428 Shibuya Scramble is kind of about assassins, but I think Kanan is like straight up about these assassins, and it's not supposed to be that good. But 428 Shibuya Scramble is pretty good. So,
for a second in my mind, I thought that was like related to Higurashi, but it's not.
No, or it could be like maybe one of those like the like Utawara Rumino, like one of those long running visual novel series, just to be like, okay, what are we doing here?
Right. There was like post Lodos Wars, like vaguely D&D ish kind of feeling ones. So it's like D&D ones. That came out of someone's D&D game is crazy, and I love it.
What, Lodos War?
Yeah.
That's kind of insane.
I believe that came out of like someone's like the D&D game that their campaign they're running. Really, the first D&D actual play, you know?
Yeah, anime is the first D&D actual play.
And with that statement, we're gonna go to break. Chris, thank you for being here. We'll be back in like 2 minutes, I think. Get ready for, I think I queued up MF Doom. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. I have been doing a bad job at re-introing all of the videos. The first one was King of Carrot Flowers Part 2 and 3 by Neutral Milk Hotel, and that was just Mad Villain, all caps. Mad Villain as being Mad Lib, Mad Villain, and MF Doom. The album Mad Villainy. Anyway, we're here with the third and final guest, Anthony, of that aforementioned anime podcast. Anthony, are you an anime expert?
I am not. I was the newbie, the new guy. The reason it's kind of called my first anime.
Yes, so it is your first. So what was your first? Important question. Was it actually your first anime?
No, it was not.
Okay. Do you remember what your first anime was? I'm sure you have covered this before, but what was your
Yeah. No, mainly, it was a lot of the stuff that was on like the Toonami era stuff. Like I've seen quite a bit of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And then I actually watched, my friends in college were getting really into Naruto at the time.
Yeah.
So I got about 50, I think, episodes in, but I put that in like quotes because I was like playing League of Legends, and on my side monitor I had Naruto going with the dub. So
yeah, that's
because I'd filler, dude. Come on.
Yeah, that is, to talk about filler, we touched upon briefly earlier. The reason I get upset about people calling like non-plot events filler is because filler means a thing. Filler means it's from anime, and when they were the anime studio was just making shit up.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your, I suppose, your first reintroduction to anime? As someone who forgot with your first anime.
No. So I guess the reintroduction was probably, I guess, really our first, because I definitely took a break out of college and didn't really watch anything for a long time. So really the first one was Cowboy Bebop, which is the first one we did.
Okay.
As a podcast.
And how is that as like a reintroduction to anime? I guess
it was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's a lot of people's like introductions to anime, But
Hmm.
it's like you said with Toonami, it was like a weird way to watch things because in my mind, if they aired them sequentially, I certainly never watched them sequentially.
Oh yeah, no, I have bits and pieces of like just random Zoids show as well, like just in the back of my head. It's like I
Yeah,
know that's Liker Zero, right? Yeah, like I know
right.
that,
Yeah,
and I don't really know why I know that, but it's just because I was watching Toonami or.
yeah. In my mind, there are two Zoids. One is like an actual show, and one is a toy commercial, I think.
Yep, yep.
But I don't remember there was like a was it Zoid? It can't be Zoid Zero. That sounds silly.
I really don't know. I can't remember. I feel like there was like 3 or 4 different, I
Yeah,
guess, arcs or seasons or however they classify it.
but there was one that felt like the the mobile suit to the Zoids I know's G Gundam,
Hmm.
where it
And I
has
remember seeing like I think I know that iconic Gundam, the face of the mech, like just in the back of my head too. Even though I've never really watched any of the Gundam Wing
yeah,
series.
he's got the little yeah, I know the Gundam face. People know what they talk about when you say Gundam
Yeah, yeah,
face.
yeah.
That guy's got a real Gundam face. But so how do you feel about anime in general? Would you say?
It's pretty interesting because I think you mentioned it earlier, but we've kind of delved a lot into the popular, or not even just the good stuff so far.
Right.
So overall, it's been a pretty fun experience. Like honestly, we have you heard of Perfect Blue?
Yes, I have. Okay, so I have the Perfect Blue Blu-ray. I've got the Perfect Blue vinyl.
Nice.
I've got the Perfect Blue storyboards.
Oh shit. Yeah, that is like
Yeah,
in my top 5 movies now.
it is like, yeah. I don't know. I wonder if it's prohibitively expensive now. But at one point, I forget, some publisher was selling like the actual like, here's a hardbound Perfect Blue storyboards that has like notes and stuff in it, and
That's pretty cool.
it is very cool. But
Yeah, but so overall anime, yeah, I think it's been pretty fun so far. Just watching like some of the greats, and yeah, like I said, I even added a couple of them to like my top 5, top 10 favorite things to watch. So that's been pretty cool.
yeah, what is your like your television experience coming into that then?
Yeah, so I've watched a lot of television, the good and the bad, because I kind of started with like the white collar era of TV.
Right.
If you remember that show on USA and stuff.
No, wait. What is that show? I never watched. USA for me was the channel that you would watch when you were homesick.
Yeah, that's kind of probably how it started. White collar was like FBI kind of high crime cases solved by some
like
dude
like
with
like
a really nice haircut, who used to be like in prison and stuff like that for the same like he's helping the FBI now. He's basically an informant, classic,
okay.
And then he's got his overarching story while they solve case by case each month.
Yeah,
Or
the
each week or
outside
whatever.
the crime solving outsider.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your monks and your psychs.
Yeah. Basically a monk-esque kind of thing.
A bones.
But yeah, that kind of led me on a path to like, I think Dexter was a big show that I watched. That kind of took up a bunch of time, and then that stuff went into like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, all the pretty much what everyone talks about classics. I'm very kind of mainstream.
So what's the real horse that you watched? The real bad guilty pleasures, I guess, because you can't lob me a softball like that.
Yeah, Suits. I don't know. I feel like Suits was a guilty pleasure. I don't feel like I got a lot out of Suits when I was watching it, but it was just like just on.
Right.
Even there was a spoof or like not a spoof show, but it was a show making fun of the Real Housewives.
Okay.
It was like, but it was by. Oh man, it's abused. I'm just losing it right now.
I know what you're talking about because I heard it mentioned on a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, but
all the actresses were like comedians are in it.
Yeah, but it was kind of making fun of that, and I actually watched that show like unironically for a while, but it was not good.
Yeah, that's I feel like I see that a lot when I will hear someone who's very funny on a podcast and they'll plug what they're in, and then it has like a 3.6 out of 10 on IMDb. It's like,
yep, yeah.
These people are funny here. I guess this doesn't translate to scripted comedy or something, or they got bad scripts. That complicated thing, but But anyway, that's well and truly beside the point. What about video games, Anthony? We presumably talk about video games on this show.
Oh yeah. So I haven't played a whole lot of indie video games. But I've played a lot of mainstream. I did I think I started. Well, my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy Tactics.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really into that. And besides that, I guess The Last of Us, big fan of that one.
Yeah.
The new God of War, I was pretty a fan of. But yeah, I stay pretty mainstream on that. I played League of Legends for a while.
Yeah, that's Link to the Past. I'm a big fan of Link to the Past randomizer from the chat here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've been getting into the Link to Past randomizer stuff too.
I was thinking, I saw someone doing like the one of those Crossword. Crossworld is the one where people play the same game, or is that cross?
Oh, multi-worlds.
Multi-world, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. We play multi-worlds as well. They're pretty interesting.
It seems very cool, and it's very like. There's also like approximately like 1 million randomizers now because everyone's like looking for like the new randomizer, I think.
Mm-hmm. And they even mix games together now too. Like I was watching, like I think it's, they mix Link to the Past with the Metroid, and they randomize it all.
Yeah, they've done that.
Like literally, you'll go through a door and wind up in a Metroid game. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Right, and they do that multi-world too. Same thing.
Yeah, that's insane to me.
You've got 3 people playing. Yes, it is a fascinating thing, and maybe there aren't any, but I feel like it's interesting that for as long as it's been around, I haven't seen that idea like actually brought up in a game before. Like someone's like, I want to make a game based around this randomizer concept.
Oh yeah, can't think of it. Yeah, almost, like a multiplayer, almost like a roguelike kind of idea.
Right, because I guess, but here's the larger philosophical question: can you make a randomizer if you don't have something to have been randomized, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what does Link to the Past randomizer look like if it's like the original game that you made and there is no Link to the Past? Like, how does that game, like, how do you create that game?
Yeah, I guess you could make like here's the canon story or whatever, and then like, okay, now that you've done that, here's the randomizer and just release it all as one game, you know?
Right. Or like, here's like, it's a bizarre, a truly kind of like bizarre thing to think about, but I like it. I think that game works because it's kind of it's small enough, but like open enough, and so much stuff does so many different things in that game that it's easy enough to like get bits and pieces, where I feel like plenty of other games like it doesn't work because you get locked off, or it's more like structurally linear, and you have to
Link to the Past works really well for that.
Yeah, like it works very well in terms of just like it feels very much like you're playing Link to the Past, not like a weird ROM hack where you changed a lot of stuff around. But
and also it's like the time. I've seen some of the speed running guys do like 8-hour games. I was like, no, I ain't got time for all that. Like hour and a half to 2:30 or something like that. Once you get pretty good at the game.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, you can do a run.
Right, that's enough for me. I think the first time I ever launched it up, I was like, I'll do Key Sanity. That seems like fun.
Oh no.
That was no, I can't even do regular ones. Sometimes, like when they have their tournaments, I'm like, I'll play along with the tournament. And then I'm like, how are you finished? I don't even.
Yeah.
You're playing Key Sanity. How are you done? I'm just playing normal mode.
Yeah, it took me about, I think, 8 to 10 just to like realize where everything, like all the chests are in the game.
Right.
Just period.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy to simply forget, like, oh, there's this weird out of the way one in this cave somewhere, or like mastering dungeon layouts and what doors go where, and is this a key that I need to spend? But this is not a Link to the Past randomizer podcast, I don't think, at least. Until it turns into one, but now honestly, I'm going to play that, I think, after this is over, because I'm very into it. But video games, I had something. Sorry, I'm going to go backwards through your things. Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
When did you first play Final Fantasy Tactics? Do you remember?
Oh man, I think I was like, it was around 10.
Okay, I feel like I'm very similar in that age bracket.
Yeah.
It was very like tween teen era, and I feel like that is the perfect time to first play Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh, it's so fun. And it was the first game I ever played like it too, with the Dutch, the whole genre of
Right.
yeah.
Turn-based or turn-based.
Yeah, turn-based. Thank you. It was escaping my mind.
Like strategy RPG.
Yeah.
But there's like the church is bad. It's like everyone betrays you.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like all like what?
Church is bad, and like
Right.
these people, oh god, everyone's like turning on everyone, and you're just kind of like going through your moral system the whole time, or watching
Yeah.
Ramsey go through his moral system the whole time.
Yeah, it's like I'm playing the Final Fantasy for adults.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was an intense story, I think, especially for like someone who's like 12, you know.
Right. Because
It just definitely left a lasting impact on me.
I had even played like other Final Fantasies like on the Super Nintendo before that time, but like maybe I was in the right headspace, and it's just like it's very Shakespearean, very self-serious, which I think lends itself to being like more like feeling like it has more of an impact, feeling like it has like stronger. Have you replayed it often?
Yeah, I try to play it at least once a year. I did when quarantine first like stopped or started, about a year ago or whatever it is now. I did a run through.
Yeah. Now, when you play that, do you like play like do you have like your fixed play style, or do you?
No, but because there was a time in my life where I treated it like a roguelike.
Okay.
Where I'd go through and just do whatever. I've got all kinds of different runs.
Here's your Ram's a Chemist run.
Exactly. Yeah, I've done almost everything you think of. I think I've seen both. I can't remember how many official endings there are. I know there's at least 2 different endings, right?
Maybe.
If I remember correctly. I think there's 2 different endings.
Right. Well, because there's one involved the deep dungeon.
Wait, yeah, there's that one too, I believe. So there's 3. I can't remember all. I just know specifically there's the one where you don't like bring any like special knights aboard.
Oh, right, okay.
Like Agrius and stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
there's just you just use your stock characters basically.
Yeah, just like your nameless whatever characters.
Mm-hmm. And I think you get like a little cutscene after all the stuff goes down. No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. About a JRPG, do you fight God? We'll let you figure that one out. Yeah, but no, I think it's a good game, and I like the art. But
I will say, I think my favorite character to run on there though is you run a monk and a ninja. So you get the twin swords on the monk with the unarmed attack, and it's just devastating.
Yes, that was like I feel like when I discovered that you could give 2 or like just
2 swords to everyone.
Right, I can give everyone 2 swords. They can attack twice. I can give someone
Yep.
2 like great swords. Well, why wouldn't
that
I?
plus the lancer.
Right. Yeah. There's you can attack from 2 spaces. Yes, there's so much like. Now, do you go back to the original PlayStation version? Or do you go back to the PSP version at this point?
I always do PlayStation. Pretty much. I've got emulator.
Yeah.
That I use and I specifically look for tactics.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the from what I'm familiar with, I believe the PSP version has like a more faithful, like less janky translation, but is like chugs and it has a lot of slowdown. I don't know if an emulator fixes that, or like how emulators correct for that sort of thing if they can.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you can always just do speed ups in emulators.
Yeah, just throw fast forward on a button.
Yeah, that's how I have it on my. Listen, that's how you play through all those Dragon Quest games. You map fast forward to a button and you just tear through those battles and just like grind up super fast.
Mm-hmm.
Or you do the old BizHawk special and you just find your health values and freeze them, so then your health never goes down. God,
I feel like that's a program back in the day, right?
BizHawk's still alive and well. That's what I use.
Oh, is it? Okay. I wonder if I thought, because I remember using back in the day when like Counter-Strike 1.6 was out.
Yeah.
I played that Twitch shooter for a while, and cool thing was trying to figure out how to hack and cheat. And I feel like I had a program that would I'll try to find my health and freeze the value in the program.
Yeah.
But I could never get it to work.
It's probably a similar thing. Yeah, I have The BizHawk one is pretty good because you can be like, what changed since then? What changed since then? And then it's like, here's my health.
Yeah, I remember doing that. Yeah, but I don't know if it was BizHawk or not.
No, I think BizHawk is specifically an emulator, so it's probably something different.
Okay.
I use it occasionally, but I mostly, at this point, listen to play my versions of the game that I own and I upload to my own personal computer for only 24 hours for backup purposes. Of course,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I use RetroArch because it's convenient.
Yeah, that's what I've used. I think it's RetroArch. Yeah, that's what I use for my Final Fantasy, the most latest playthrough, because the PSX EMU or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It just had so many issues I found with like using a PlayStation controller on your computer, but RetroArch, it's seamless.
Right, yeah, and sometimes I've had some issues with I think one of their cores at one point. I don't remember, and I had to like get the actual version. It might have been the DS one because I do have that DS emulator, so that I'm assuming that's the core I ran into issues with. But it's clean. You can load up your achievements, so I can get Final Fantasy Tactics achievements that I share with my friends online, and
I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah. If you get a True Achievements account, it's interesting. Like the idea of like for like I don't know if people care about achievements anymore. No, it's not true. No, sorry, True Achievements. It's Retro Achievements, obviously.
Retro achievements.
Because like, do people care about achievements anymore? I guess is the question.
I still do.
Do you like the now? Here's the question: is it the achievement itself, or like the point value, like the I guess like you prefer.
That's actually I think it's kind of both, right? So like the point value, like it's kind of like to show off, like, hey, here's all the achievements I've done. But like,
yeah.
I feel like deep down, like when I remember the game I cared about the most about, like I guess platinuming because it was on PlayStation, was Sekiro.
Okay.
And I know that accounts to your PS score or whatever.
Right.
But I just wanted that platinum just for me, you know.
Yeah. What do you buy with your PS Platinum points? Weren't they going to do something like that at some point?
Oh, did they? I don't know.
For some reason, I thought they were going to like let you buy something or something. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, there are.
Pretty much only did From Software Platinum. So.
Right, because I think those are like very achievable, but also like very skill based.
And it's very satisfying.
Yeah, have you seen someone's making fun from Bloodborne on the PS1?
Wait, someone made Bloodborne for the PS1?
Or they're making it right now? I don't know.
That's crazy.
I can't remember if for like an emulator or if they're just like actually doing it on like a Net Eurose or something. But they are doing it. They're like trying to make like the PS1 From Software version, the not Kingsfield version, because Kingsfield was a first-person game, but. Like, what if From Software made Bloodborne back when they were making PS1 games? What would it be like?
I'm going to be interested to see what this game looks like. Boot it up. Well, I guess, you think it'll actually work on RetroArch?
It probably should, because I think it's just like a homebrew, and I think I've played plenty of, like, homebrew Game Boy games that people have made.
Yeah.
And I just, like, literally drag that over to BizHawk, and it just loads right up.
Nice. I'd be real interested to play that.
I don't think it's out yet. I think they're just like doing it because like, could I do it? Would it work? And they're like,
yeah, because I know Bloodborne was the one that got me into like From Software, because I'd heard of Dark Souls, but I never really thought about looking into it.
Right. But yeah, no, it's like Bloodborne is like a different vein, is very different like stylistic approach to it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like. Sorry, I was looking at Bloodborne PS1. I found an article, but I just wanted to find the actual like developer to get like good stuff. But yeah, because that is I think Bloodborne is when it really like From Software like peaked, you know, like in terms of everyone's paying attention to it.
Yeah, because I remember the hype for Dark Souls 3 it was way up there.
Yeah, back when like Demon Souls was like a kind of weird game. And then, like, Demon Souls was like a weird game for weirdos who liked weird games. And then, like, well, Bloodborne's for everybody. Then, like, everyone plays Sekiro.
Yeah,
And now people are looking.
I enjoyed Sekiro as well.
Now people are just like looking forward to From Software games, which I guess this all circles back to our original chat about like obscure Japanese games, and it feels really bizarre that people are excited about From Software. As someone who really liked Armored Core growing up, it seemed like From Software made games for nobody. And now they're like a marquee. Liked and could not comprehend. Yeah.
Yeah, I never played any From Software growing up, I don't think.
Yeah, they made weird
Looking at their list now, I don't think so.
Yeah, they made weird games. I at some point I do want to like play Kingsfield and just like get real deep into like I like getting real deep into histories and just like seeing where stuff came from.
Seeing where the first game was and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love like going back because I think like some of this stuff would be like better preserved naturally if games had like a more of a natural like old games culture and preservation culture. Like more people would talk about, hey, Kingsfield is neat, or these other weird FromSoft games. But anyway, I'm sorry. If you're in the Discord, I linked a short video clip of that aforementioned Bloodborne.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
It's very cool looking. But I love that dude's face. And let me just make sure there's no more questions before we... Good, nothing. Wait, no. Okay, I just need to delete it. But as we approach the end of our time here, as it breezes on through, I've got to ask you: Are there any animes that you are aware of that you were just thinking, no, sirree, that is certainly not for me? That you that is just like, I didn't think I liked anime, but now I guess I kind of do, but I still know my taste.
Yeah, honestly, shonens.
Okay, yes.
Which I know it is dominating like anime markets mostly, but like just run of the mill shonens without any like, I don't know, just like if a basic shonen comes up, I think I'm gonna hate it. I can't stand being explained to like kind of Naruto-esque, where they're like,
Yeah.
I had to do this because this. I was like, well, obviously.
Right,
like, let's
right.
move on. Like I can't stand, like it takes me so out of the story, out of the action, out of everything. Ugh.
You didn't want to explain how Naruto like did his thing, his cool move?
Nope,
How...
I don't care about all your jujitsus and what it did. And I can watch, show me, don't tell me. Like, let's do this.
That is very... Shonens are like peak that genre of shows that are cool collections of costume designs that I never want to watch.
Yep.
It's like, oh, I guess these characters all look neat. Oh, there's 10,000 episodes, Well, no thanks.
Yeah.
I'll pass.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read it.
This podcast has got me watching One Piece right now.
Oh, what?
On the side.
That is too much to watch.
Speaking of yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I am bought in at One Piece at this point. You can't get me out of One Piece. I've probably read One Piece for half my life, I'm sure. It's my days of our lives.
Yeah.
Except with weird elephant men.
That I'm watching One Piece and I'm getting some of that shonen vibe from it, but it at least keeps things interesting. Like I really like the bad guys I've seen so far in it.
Yeah, it is like peak interesting designs.
Which I'm literally just at the spot where like Sanji's about to join the crew, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that?
Yeah, I'm pretty for like episode 25-ish or something like that.
That's Mihawk. Is Mihawk? Has he shown up?
Yeah, he I think he just dipped though. I think he beat the shit out of Zoro and then left.
Okay. I couldn't remember if Mihawk showed up.
Or they're about to fight him or something like that. Yeah, but I remember Zoro's injured.
Okay, so I can never remember if he showed up before or after that arc.
Yeah, but he shows in.
Anyway, it's a dense, interesting world. I think it's kind of neat. Sometimes there's too much dialogue. They write way too much dialogue. Just let the art do the work, even in the manga. Anyway, I'm going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll all be here. Thanks for being here. Goodbye for a moment. Hello, welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Mitsuki's Nobody. I had a moment, I was mentioning it off air, where after I saw Perfect Blue in the theater, I thought it would be really cool if in that scene with the boombox in the elevator, Mitsuki's Nobody played. And then I went home and I saw, oh, somebody had made an AMV to Perfect Blue with Mitsuki's Nobody. And I was like, somebody out there understands me. My weird tutu clone is out there making this for me. Thank you. But everyone's here, and we have a big. I never know what to do with this segment yet. I've yet to come up with a game for it because I just keep making up other shit to do instead.
Oh, you should just do it as like a game.
Yeah, I really. Do you have any game ideas?
No.
Yeah.
What?
That's my
Listen.
problem. That's my problem.
I'm not here to come up with ideas. You tell me what to do. I'm your monkey.
That's my problem. I always I keep inventing other projects to do, and I always forget that I need to make a game. You know.
Mm.
And to do for this segment because I think it would be fun, but otherwise it's just like a hangout. Like if anyone had like so mostly the segment is for like if anyone had any burning questions for other guests or any otherwise burning statements, unfinished business, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I have a question for most of you guys. If I had to pay one indie game besides like Undertale, if you guys consider indie, what would you guys pick? For me to start off.
Yes. Well, Undertale definitely an indie game. It's like 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
One indie game. Well, might I recommend you go to indiepocalypse.com and purchase any one issue of indie. I mean, I joke, but really, it's like a good example of like. I think it meets its mission goals of like just showing like what independent art can be if made in games, you know. But let me think of like what like a good like the go-to like like a more accessible, long or more importantly a longer indie game.
As a person who knows you at all, should I take taste into account with my answer?
Sure.
Okay, I need to think more then.
Oh, I guess semi-related. I really like Lisa the Painful RPG.
Lisa the Painful?
Lisa the Painful. And also like its DLC sequel thing, Lisa the Joyful. And then if you really want, you can go back to I forget what the original Lisa is called. You can go back.
Is it just called Lisa?
It might just be called Lisa. I think Lisa the Painful is like the original Lisa is like a freeware RPG maker game. And then also like it has an amazing soundtrack.
Wait, this Lisa has nothing to do with like the playable teaser demo from like the PlayStation era, right?
No, it's like
the PT demo thing. Okay, because her name was Lisa.
No, this is an RPG maker game about like a post-apocalypse, and there's only one woman, and it's got weird. It's like what it in Undertale when people say are inspired by Earthbound, and it's like the only games that I believe. And the rest, I'm like, you're full of shit. You just when you say inspired, inspired by Earthbound, you just mean mildly quirky.
So tangential, I guess. I'll definitely circle back. Have you heard of Omori?
I have. I've been meaning to play it more. I
was specifically probably asking you and Kurt. I know for sure Anthony has not heard of Omori.
No, I have not.
I thought about kickstarting that way back in the day, but I'm like, who kickstarts video games? They never come out. But now that it's come out and people are like, Omori is very good. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, because that is definitely one that was like, oh, this game is dripping Earthbound. Something
I've been also like meaning to play. Part of me is also like I need to go back and play some of the classics that I've never played. One of these days I'm going to actually sit down, download, and play through Yume Nikki.
Don't know what that is.
That's a very classical it's kind of like this JRPG, this horror JRPG game, but it's not like a JRPG, and it's kind of like this surrealist. It's like one of the 3 influences when you talk about RPG maker games. It was made by like a solo Japanese dev, like probably well over a decade ago, probably like Cave Story-ish era of like Japanese indies.
What was it called?
Yume Nikki.
Because I'm a big fan of survival horror.
It's not a survival horror game. It's more like a I've never played it, so that's I'm only like secondhand aware of it, though it is considered like a classic of the genre. One of those things that you feel guilty about having. Have you yet? Great input from the dog. Have you played Tokyo Jungle?
I haven't.
Have I? You know the answer is yes.
Yeah, no.
I have played more Tokyo Jungle than Tokyo Jungle deserves. We took down those alligators and lions as Pomeranians, but boy, those hippos do not play.
I feel like Tokyo Jungle is going away with like all that. I saw people saying like, make sure you get Tokyo Jungle because they're taking down all those PSN games supposedly, or actually, I don't remember.
I mean, that's just good life advice.
To play Tokyo Jungle.
Yeah, well, to get Tokyo Jungle, maybe don't play it. It's honestly not that good. It's pretty.
But I love that kind of like meh, like that real middle ground, you know?
Oh yeah, Tokyo Jungle is like absolutely one of the to me, like the perfect space for that because it's not the middle ground where like it's just aggressively mediocre in everything that it does. And it makes it just kind of boring. It's like actually not a very good game. It doesn't play super well. It's not clear what you're supposed to do. It feels really poorly balanced, but it's also just like super, super interesting.
Right. That is like, yes, I will prefer a million like broken and I mean, I'm curating a thing of games that are like not perfect but interesting, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, there was never a chance I would quote unquote beat Tokyo Jungle, whatever that looks like. But playing through it playing it a handful of times until your dogs and deer die from poison or get overrun by lions was still like an interesting time until you're like, okay, I get it.
Right. There's something to, I believe, though, that kind of is that the B game, you know? The B.
Yeah.
Yeah, the platonic. The platonic ideal of the B game. There is something fascinating about that. I guess what you really mean is like a low budget or just experimental games.
Yeah. So to answer Anthony's question, I don't think I have a great answer for him. My best answer for him is like kind of sadly super mainstream of Celeste. Celeste is fantastic.
Yeah, it is very good.
Outside of that, I have to shout out Crosscode. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Maybe at this point, I think it was made by only a couple people. I think it's truly something special. And the character writing in it, the main character can only say like her name in 3 words most of the game, and it works so well. And it's so great and beautiful. Other than that, I do just want to shout out real quick a game called Troubleshooter Abandoned Children, which is a Korean strategy RPG made by like a very small team of people. That's really good.
I saw the advertised for quite some time and it looked really cool, but I haven't got a chance to play it.
Yeah, the translation can be a little bit clunky sometimes, but for the most part, it's really cool. I think the strategy elements are really cool. A lot of the characters are endearing enough, and it has a good like power curve, which you always want in a strategy RPG.
I was trying to see if I could find my games to see like what are like go to like if you don't want to go all the way into like super indie games,
Yeah, or even like staples in the genre.
Right.
Like what kind of genre would you be looking for?
Man, I've played quite a bit, but I guess role playing or RPGs are pretty fun. I don't know. That's a tough question because usually I just watch the trailer. I was like, no, that's for me or it's not for me.
Yeah,
it's really hard to because I've dabbled in almost any type of genre, but usually just stick to the mainstream side.
So if your user icon is a Final Fantasy Tactics dude,
yeah.
Have you tried Failseal?
Failseal?
Failseal, like it's trying its hardest to be Final Fantasy Tactics, and I don't think it quite gets there, but the fact that there are so few of those that are really made, I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, because the only one I've really played since that reminded me of it was like the XCOM, and of course that's
Yeah.
Was it trying as hard as like that? What was Oh no, I lost the name. Tear Ring was trying to be Fire Emblem.
Oh, Tearing Saga? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's from a while ago.
Was it trying that hard?
Well, I
or-
mean, Felseal was it's a Western game,
Yeah.
so it has a very different look and feel to it. It almost has like a Western RPG that's really inspired by a Japanese strategy RPG sort of feeling.
Okay.
Um, but like Final Fantasy Tactics is more than just it's like the job system is at the center of it, but it's also its soundtrack. It's like really dense political intrigue, and it's like charming, weird, half cutesy, half super serious artwork, and like Felseal doesn't quite have that, but like RPG wise, I don't know. There's some that are like decent. Crosscode, from what I played of it, was really good.
I mean,
there's so few of those like action RPGs that I could think of.
and since you said RPGs, I do double down on Lisa the Painful.
I know somebody like we did a book on retro indie games a couple of years ago, and the cover artist loved Lisa, and so we had to make sure that was covered in there. There's some character who I can't even remember the name. It was on the cover of that book.
Is it probably the main guy? Oh, how did I forget the main guy's name? It's not Lisa. It's obviously not.
It was like a bad guy character. He looks.
Oh,
like
let me look it up. But also like that soundtrack. I just typed Japanese. How's that gonna help? But yeah, also like the soundtrack 100% whips like through and through, and it's like very different from like traditional RPGs. And even like traditional, what you would think of as like indie, kind of like retro music.
Yeah.
A lot of weird synth. I can't.
This is getting a little bit older, but Dust was pretty good.
Dust was pretty good.
It's like a action RPG. It was mostly made by the guy was an animator by trade, but he kind of like made most of the game himself outside of like some writers and music. And there's a lot of Metroidvanias. That's a really, really popular subgenre of indie stuff.
Yeah. Which, hey, Rogue Legacy still rules.
Yeah, that's one of the few roguelikes I ever really like. Like that and Hades. Everything else I just kind of bounce off of.
Hades, he knows all about Hades.
Yeah, I've been playing Hades.
Oh, have you tried playing Don't Shit Your Pants?
I have not.
A consummate classic, really. I mean, it actually is a very good game. I really like that game. I think it is like a true little classic. If the precursor to Rogue Legacy.
Yeah,
is that made by the same people? Cellar Door?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's them.
Yeah, what a weird but funny thing.
Is Super Meat Boy? Is that indie-ish?
Yeah. Team Meat. This first one was like 2 people.
Team Meat anyway. Yeah.
Or largely 2 people.
They had that the whole movie. From...
Yeah, I played.
It seems so long ago
for a long time.
Oh God, yeah, indie game the movie.
What a world that created, you know.
Yeah.
I can't find this guy.
I remember. There's also another game we played like in high school, like we were back when like computer classes were like a, still a thing. I guess we were playing. I Want to Be the Guy of the Game or the video of the game or something like that.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that game with apples would fall up and stuff. It was just so infuriating as a platformer.
What's the game? Okay, what's that game called? Is it Ares Action? Is it Ares Action? What's the name of? It's like a Japanese masocore game. It's kind of old at this point.
I remember playing one in college that was made completely out of ASCII graphics. I'm pretty sure it was actually made in Flash, and it had all sorts of Japanese memes, but I can't remember what it was called.
I do have it in my library somewhere. I'm looking through my library to see what I can find. Well, we kind of like... No, it's not Fairy Bloom Freesia. It's...
Fairy Bloom
Freesia.
Never mind. I give up on that.
your Japanese Dojin Arena Fighters?
Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah, I mean...
The one I played.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of those in that genre of Dojin Arena Fighters. Yeah, I'm getting screwed up by realizing, my clunky Western tongue.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If we're good to move on from that one.
We are, yes.
Okay, this is probably mostly for Kurt, but did you hear our? I know you're having mic troubles. Did you hear our Tokyo Jungle talk?
Yeah, I came in at the end of that.
Okay, so are there any like weird old obscure games that fit the bill for you of like you would really hesitate to call good, but wouldn't for a second like regret your time with them? There's just something oddly fascinating and compelling about them that you would recommend other people check out.
I need to sit down. Like one of the reasons I write so much is just so I can remember remember things. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have my own favorite games that are bad that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know there's some Falcom chat earlier on.
Yes.
And East 3 is one of my favorite. Like that game is mostly junk, I think.
How dare you?
But the soundtrack is incredible. And they ended up remaking it as Otha and Felghana, which you can get on Steam and on the PSP, and they turned it into like a legitimately great game by that point.
Yeah, that's actually the version I played. That's why I was a little offended, I guess.
Yeah. Oh no, that game is excellent. I remember renting E3 when I was a kid, and like I like those sort of side-scrolling action RPGs, even the ones that aren't particularly great.
Mm-hmm. Are there any that you think like do something special that like break that mold? They're not just like, a River City Ransom but bad, or like a Golden Axe but worse.
Oh man, I don't know.
Wow, weird, unnecessary shade on Golden Axe.
Is it unnecessary?
Golden Axe is pretty good.
I feel like I have bad. Well, I have good memories of Golden Axe, but I don't know.
Fans of the genre,
The hitbox on those lizards is bad, okay? And that.
I have been, because I'm working on a book on beat 'em ups now. I've been spending a lot of time with the video games, and there's so many of them, and so many of them get so strange too.
Yeah,
like one that actually came out for the 3DS is. It's technically a remake of River City Ransom, but they completely changed the way the system works. There's like, I want to say it's a roguelike, but you're supposed to play it over multiple times. There are different events. There's like a time system. It's really, really weird, but it's still at its core like a beat 'em up.
Yeah.
That one actually did come out here, but I think like a lot of those Kunio games people tended to ignore. Like River City Girls did really well because it was done by an American company that really like understood what people liked about River City Ransom.
Yeah, I played through that with a friend and enjoyed it. It was fine.
Yeah.
Soundtrack also very good in that game.
Oh, I love the soundtrack. Like it's incredibly good.
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah, if you happen to think of one, I am very on board. I have this weird like. There's this weird like voice in the back of my head that's always like, you should play some kind of beat 'em up. And I'm like, no, they're all bad. What are you talking about? But
if you look at, there's one called Guardians is a main game. Because it's been done by a company called hilarious enough Winkysoft.
Okay.
And it's I don't know who knows who were making beat 'em ups in the mid 90s, but I don't think it got any distribution at all. But it's just like it's still like a Final Fight type game, but it's really richly detailed. There's like 7 characters. There's multiple routes in the game. There's a combo system. It's just really cool. It's never been ported anywhere, so the only way to play it is in MAME, and I think it might even be still a little glitchy in there too.
Yeah, because MAME is weird. Because unless it's like a CVS2 board or something, you have to like emulate each individual game for the most part. I think, right?
It depends on the board. It depends on the company. Because if it's something that they all share the same board, then usually once they get it working on one, then they can sort of get it working on others. But when you get to like obscure companies like Winkysoft, I have no idea what the hell kind of board that was.
Right. Wait, they did super. They worked. Okay, they didn't do it. They worked on Super Robot Wars games.
Yeah, I think that was kind of their main thing. I don't know if they're still around, but
Filed for bankruptcy in 2015.
yeah, I guess not. But I mean, you could give Super Robot Wars to like any programming team. It doesn't matter.
Right,
like,
right. It's just make sure that the sprites bounce, and then you just make. Are they all the kind? I played like OG generation or something, whatever the DS version was. And
Oh yeah, that was actually was not really like a Super Robot Wars game. That was kind of like a weirdo spin-off because it was kind of more like a regular RPG that was tied in with Namco cross Capcom characters.
Okay, so yes, it was one of that style of game. And Robot Wars, is that like a strategy RPG?
Yeah, it's kind of like Fire Emblem, but
Okay.
with like crossovers between different mecha robots, but there are like a bazillion of them.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's if you can get people to buy mecha, just like sell, people will buy mech stuff. So when you put all the
Are there any
different mechas together-
Gunpla of Robot Wars?
Yeah, well, because they just have like Gundams in them.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Oh, there it wasn't that long ago. There's a Keroro RPG, which is a role-playing version of Sergeant Frog. That's actually was made by one of the Tales of people, so the game is basically like a Tales of game.
Okay.
And I
That's
reminded that because the armor that you wear basically it's supposed to be Gunpla models. Like it's a very goofy game.
Is that a GBA game? It feels like it's a GBA game.
Yeah, that feels like the Dragon Quest slime game, which I unashamedly played all of.
I played it all fairly recently, and it's not bad, really. It's pretty
Rocket
good.
Slime is great. It has incredibly good script too.
Like I got very good at playing it, but
No, Keroro RPG was a DS game,
okay.
and of course that never came out here.
Oh, and wait, Sergeant Frog isn't big in the U.S.
I guess not. I mean, it must. I mean, I remember seeing the manga back when it came out. I have no idea what impact it made.
I've never seen reference to Kero outside of anime-specific forums.
Yeah, I don't think it. I mean, it was pretty popular in Japan, right?
Okay, but so is
I mean, it must have been.
what's it,
Yeah.
So is what's that guy? The thing about the cop that lasted a million years?
Monster?
No, that's about a doctor.
Whatever.
Talking about a fucking anime podcast, you don't know anything about Naoki Urasawa. This guy over here.
Listen.
They even made an anime of Monster.
Yeah, I know. It's on my short list, I think. It's supposed to be very good.
Guillermo del Toro wants to make a TV show of it at some point.
Mad Bull? Is that about a cop? Why do I know that name?
Yeah, that was like a mid '80s, like really schlocky OVA, wasn't it?
I
think
don't
so.
know.
No,
I've never seen it. I was on a podcast about Final Fight, and somebody said the characters were, at least Hagar was copied off of one of the characters from that. And I've seen like the cover art of it, and that's sure is an '80s anime OVA.
Oh, Kochikame, that's what I was thinking of. It ended
Never heard
after
of it.
40 years.
Jesus.
200. I mean, there's like a million of those things in Japan, I think, that never come over here because nobody cares enough to bring them
There's
over.
a lot of long running shows that like Doraemon is super popular in Asia. Like not even just Japan, like
Yeah.
in Korea and China. But like here we got some season of it dubbed a little while ago that was on Amazon and is not around anymore.
We have Garfield. Why do we need Doraemon?
Garfield.
Wait, is it? Hold on. Is the cat a robot?
Yeah, he's a time traveling robot.
Yeah, it's a mech
Okay.
series.
Yeah, I mean
That's why
by
it's not
the
popular.
technical
We don't see
definition,
mechs.
yeah.
You just gotta watch all 10,000 episodes of Doraemon.
Yeah, but there's like I know Sazai-san, which I think has been running.
Yes.
One of those things is like competing against The Simpsons for the longest running cartoon, and like for 40 some years or something
Right.
like that. But of course,
Crayon
none of it
Shin-chan.
is. Yeah, Shin-chan, which is I mean, that kind of came here in, what do you call it? Olderized form.
Yeah. Kind of like Ghost Hunters. Is that what that was?
Yeah. The one where they just like threw out the script and made up their own.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, because like I mean, Ghost Hunters especially was like something I don't think anybody cared about. So somebody probably picked up a license. You're like, what are we gonna do with this thing? Who cares?
I saw somebody banding that around on Twitter. They're like, "What was the deal with Ghost Hunters?" And I think it had been long understood that it was just like some property that they got in a bundle deal, and thought it would flop unless they did something goofy with it.
Right.
I guess
Or-
apparently it was popular in Japan because it was based off of some sort of light novel series.
Oh,
But here, yeah, we don't have any of the context for that, so they just
Right.
turn into a flat up comedy.
right. They basically just like adult. Is that like pre or post like that Aqua Teen Space Ghost Coast to Coast?
It's a little bit after.
Okay,
I think it was like the mid 2000s.
I was
It
gonna
was the
say
same era ish.
would have been revolutionary if it was pre that.
I feel like calling something pre or post Aqua Teen Space Ghost is about to lose all meaning, as we are currently pre Space Ghost again.
Wait.
Like I feel like adult
Wait, are they
animation is
redoing
trending back into that. Like they're doing a what is it, like Bird Girl series or whatever.
Yeah. As someone who recently watched that Birdman show, it's not bad, really. There's like any like old adult animation, there's something like yeah, questionable jokes here and there. But I'm like, oh, that's better than I thought it was. Or like it was perfectly watchable. It's got good gifs. I've made quite a few of them. Yeah, they are though. They are like making a Bird Girl show. They made they made that Phoenix Wright Birdman game.
Wait. I probably knew about this.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's-
this isn't real. Whatever. You're just trying to be Phoenix Wright.
No, they made that Harry Birdman game that was basically Phoenix Wright.
You don't get what makes Phoenix so great.
I don't remember. I think it was. I think a friend of mine had played at the time who was also who had watched Harry Birdman, and he was like, "It's fine. It's all right."
Which actually to quickly harken back to like I think the very beginning, the second Edgeworth game never made it over. As like kind of a
Yeah.
weird one.
I think the DS market was kind of on the outs by that point.
Yeah,
Well,
it just
also
made
because
me
of
sad.
a piracy. I remember was kind of an issue by that round. I think everybody
Yeah.
had R4s or whatever they were called.
Mm.
But there was also the 3DS ones, the Dai Gakuten Saibon.
Yeah, those
I-
never made it either.
I think those might come out here because there's a big leak of Capcom stuff, and they mentioned that they were going to call it the Great Ace Attorney,
Oh, okay.
and nobody was entirely clear why they didn't come out. They thought maybe it was because there's Sherlock Holmes in the game,
Oh.
and his estate is really strange because he's kind of half in the public domain and kind of half not. And they just don't want to deal with him. there was some sort of recent really stupid lawsuit that came from them
All of
over
Sherlock
something.
Holmes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah.
What about you?
So I at least in the stuff that got leaked, they referred to him as I think Herlock Sholmes or something
I was
ridiculous.
gonna
like
say
that.
just call him
That was from like the Lupin
Yeah.
story way back, right?
the old Arsene Lupin. Yeah, Herlock Sholmes. Yes.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
yeah,
God.
yeah. That fucking what a wild concept. Also, I'm gonna make it. Let's make a new thing. My character is the descendant of this French pulp novel character. Sure.
Yeah.
And now it's like
once more this crazy American stuff hits the public domain, it's going to get wild.
yeah.
That'll never happen. Disney's gonna buy it all.
Yeah, it's gonna keep pushing it forward.
What Mr. Austin? What's that? What Maurice LeBlanc must think, like, to think, oh, Lupin, you mean the anime character? Could he have ever imagined that it would be that his character would be superseded by anime?
Yeah, that's I can't yeah. That must be shameful.
Or just strangely unpredictable that such a thing could ever happen. No one's out here like, who's anime Phantomas, you know?
Okay, I'm gonna Google anime Phantomas.
You see what we're gonna get?
Yeah.
I guess it's technically the Venture Brothers that did anime Phantomas. What am I talking about? There's your.
I got nothing.
That's what it is. That's Phantom Limb. It's just Phantomas. So there's your connections, as them being the true only like Western half hour, etc., etc., etc. But So, Kurt, like Anthony before, you mentioned that you have bad games that you love. So, how much of a Super Highlight super fan are you? Is what I'm wondering.
I'll I'll go to bat for Highlight for being, well, not so much.
We're talking about Super Highlight.
Super, like the Highlight 3, right? Like the Genesis one.
Yeah, the one with like the weird behind the back perspective. It's like,
Oh, that's Virtual Highlight.
oh, Virtual Highlight. Sorry, Virtual
yeah.
Highlight. Yes.
I respect that game for what it was trying to do. It's a terrible game, but
yeah.
I like that sort of idea that, Highlight was one of those games that got a really bad rap in America because the game was originally from like 1984 or 5.
Yeah.
So it really is like ancient, and it's one of the games that like basically inspired The Legend of Zelda. Well, The Legend of Zelda also came out here in America quite long before Highlight did. When FCI, like they were just like, we need a guy with a sword and a dragon. Let's dump this out. So it was tremendously dated by the time it came out, and it was just ruthlessly mocked. But its space in the Japanese RPG history is very important.
Right.
So when it came to the 32-bit era, I like that they tried to do something that, like, okay, here's Highlight, but it's going to be completely in 3D and also to an extent randomly generated. So you can play a whole new Highlight game like almost infinitely.
Right.
Like it might only take a couple hours to play through because, the original Highlight, which it was based off of, is not really that long. But, that era, like the 32-bit era, that was, we think about it as being like Final Fantasy VII, like, and all those sort of similar games, which was just an extension of the 16-bit era. And Virtual Highlight was just kind of doing its own thing, and nobody wanted to play a game like that. Like even if it was executed well,
yeah.
Like, I mean, it would certainly have more cult popularity if the game wasn't like a mess. I don't know. There's a website, the Bad Game Hall of Fame,
I am very familiar with the Bad Game Hall of Fame.
Oh, I have to look at this.
Yeah, the author Cassidy, they found I think they speculated that it was actually based off of a golf engine that the company had made, and you look at them side by side, and you're like, yeah, I totally get where they would come to that conclusion.
Virtual Highlight.
The cosplay fantasy aesthetic is certainly something.
Yeah, it is very much what isn't FMV but looks like it is Virtual Highlight.
Yeah, you have to remember, like they were still. I mean, stuff like Mortal Kombat was very popular for a period, like not in Japan but in America.
Wait, is Virtual Highlight FMV? No, right?
Yeah, I mean there's a little bit of FMV, but the characters is a digitized like dude.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yes, let's all 2021. Let's all make our own websites. Let's all get back into making AMVs, and let's all fall in love with bad games. Those are the 3 Indiepocalypse promises for 2021.
I will only be making AMVs of Breaking the Habit by Linkin Park.
Perfect.
In that case, I'll grab all of the Toxicity from System of a Down.
Oh, I guess that leaves me with nothing.
Evanescence.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Bring me to life.
Someone has to do Metallica, right?
Yes, Goku.
I definitely need someone to cover Enter Sandman.
Vegeta's the Unforgiven.
I just don't have 9 minutes.
Yeah, that's the difficulty. I'm going to, or I have to go like 2 steps further, and I'm going to fully adapt the Black Parade into AMV.
What's kind of a famous terrible game is Death Crimson, which is this light gun game for the Saturn.
Yes,
and it's just complete total garbage. It's like hilariously so. People have devoted themselves to this game. There's somebody who created like what do you call it? I think like a large rifle.
Okay.
That you would aim at the television. It was very very strange.
Okay.
So I have a question about that follow-up, if I may. I love light gun games.
Yeah.
And I can like definitely feel the difference between like a good one and a bad one, right? But what makes that one like so famously bad? Because light gun game at its core is just you point at the thing and shoot, and as long as the aim is good, like it should be passable, right?
Well, no. The enemies just they don't really give much time to react. They sort of the animation is also terrible. Like it's in 3D, but when you think of a 3D light gun game, you think of like I don't know, Virtua Cop, something like that, like made by people who knew what they were doing. Compared to this, where it looks halfway like a slideshow, but they don't really give much time to react. Like I've never played it on an actual Saturn because it's like I have to track down a gun, and the game is like not super expensive compared to some other Saturn games, but not something I really wanted to spend a whole lot of money for.
Right. So okay, so it's extremely like you basically have to memorize it to play it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like bad guys pop up and then shoot you.
Bummer.
It's just like the music is famously just really awful. Like whatever sound banks that they used, with just some guy, I don't know. Apparently, somebody did put out like a version of the music, but good. Like there's enough culture around this game that the people were fans of it.
Heavy metal covers of the soundtrack.
Acapella covers. Sorry, I fell. Man, why did I not buy this slime controller when they were selling it?
Oh yeah, I should. How much do those go for nowadays?
I don't know, or like the chainsaw controller.
God,
what a fool I was.
Or God, what is the gun from whatever? The gun from Gears of War. That's the joke.
Yeah, the chainsaw gun.
The Lancer.
Oh, the Lancer. Yeah.
Let's see. Not looking good. It's like $124.
I'm gonna have to whip out my Gears of War 3 Xbox 360 with the controllers were all Gears themed and everything.
Ugh.
I had a Red Ring of Death on my original one, so
I'll come play with my Master Chief full suit with assault rifle and working Cortana.
Working Cortana. Is it just a link to the new Windows stuff?
If you get a Japanese one, it goes down to like $80. But yeah, that's expensive. That's why you senselessly buy all those RPGs, you know? You never know when they'll get stupid expensive. But anyway, we are cresting. We're almost at 3 hours at this point. So we have to. Anyone else have any pressing matters? Any last minute details that everyone needs to get to?
So Trails in the Sky, the first one.
Okay, yeah, Nihon Falco. Let's go. Trails in the Sky. Tell me about it.
Estelle Bright is one of the greatest protagonists in video games. Fight me.
Okay, I'm not going to fight you, but
I know people love that game, but I got to the sewer dungeon and I was like, I don't have the time for this.
I mean, honestly, they're like, you feel like you're about to get into a JRPG and then you're like, they're only like 30 hours, which I know is an insane thing to say, only 30 hours. But when you look at JRPGs and they're all like 1,000 hours or whatever,
right?
They're not that long, and the sword dungeon's like the first dungeon.
It is the first dungeon, but I mean, it's like I was always intimidated by that game because somebody said that like you don't really even leave the first town until 20 hours in or something like that, and I'm like, wow, that's
yeah, totally.
The only game in the series I really spent a lot of time with was the first Cold Steel, which I kind of bounced off of and returned to a couple times. Also because of a sewer dungeon in Cold Steel.
I got good news if you like sewer dungeons.
Well, where else are you going to fight slimes and or rats?
Oh, and you have the whole stupid thing where every alternating chapter you have to go into the school basement dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just like them, like obviously only really creating content for one game, but needing to stretch it out for two. So
yeah, I was joking, and I definitely, I know we're trying to wrap up. I cannot talk about
Trails. No, I mean, we can keep going if you want.
I just want to say I think those games are great because they do like really good character interactions, and like the people in your party clearly have lives outside of your party, which is like a really underappreciated thing in fiction. Re-answering the earlier question that Andrew asked.
Yeah, I could go on about how I think dating should be really hard in Persona games because I think it changes group dynamics when people in your group start dating, and that it doesn't in Persona really bugs me.
Yeah, honestly, kind of same.
It's like
Played through Strikers, and I kind of like there was this weird thing where like you can choose a character to go on a Ferris wheel with, and obviously I picked Makoto because it's the objectively correct answer.
also
But-
there's the weird like dating sim. I date all the people aspect that also I don't like.
Yeah, that sucks. But like you're on there, and like she's like, "Oh, is this a date?" And you're like, "Yeah, we've been dating since the first game. What do you mean?"
And it's very weird. But also it's extremely difficult to make what I want them to make.
Yeah. Hey, BioWare kind of did it.
Like
Mass
mildly.
Effect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But like yeah, they had some stuff in Dragon Age that was I think might have even gotten cut out. That was like interesting that approached that. But yeah, they don't. I feel the same way about Fire Emblem. I don't stop dating everyone in Fire Emblem. I don't want to date all the people. I want.
No, you can only date one person in Fire Emblem. You make all your people date.
Yeah, but you have the ability to, and I feel like that undersells.
No, you don't. You get locked into one in Fire
right,
Emblem.
but I'm saying the ability to lock into any character.
Oh yeah,
I think undercuts all the characters a bit.
yeah. I mean, I think Three Houses is better about that. I mean, you still do with like almost pretty much every character, but they mostly feel pretty good. I can't talk about Fire Emblem or Trails. This is gonna go bad places.
I could talk about Falcom again, but I'm sure you already went over all that.
Oh, I
a
mean,
while
dude,
ago.
I'm down with East. I
all these
think I
games.
bounced off of 8, and that's where I stopped. 7 or 8, and that's where I stopped. But I definitely played through all of them in order. Love East. Origin is phenomenal. What else? Did they make anything else?
A lot of the stuff is older. They did Brandish, Thoughtful Mail, Zwei. There are 2 of those on Steam.
Are those good?
Xanadu. Yeah.
No, I mean I think that's like a perfect Tokyo Xanadu.
Hey, I played through
Xanadu.
Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus. Okay.
That's why I mentioned it because I thought.
Tokyo Xanadu. I don't know. I thought the game's kind of boring.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but I was like, oh, this is written like one of those games, so I'm in.
Yeah. But no, because Xanadu was an ancient mid '80s PC RPG.
Wait, did they make?
There
did
was
they make Fax Xanadu?
kind of. Falcom had entered in with a partnership with Hudson, and they were supposed to port Xanadu, but the guy like couldn't. Basically, he was like, "This game's too complicated. I have 3 months to do it." So he made Xanadu instead.
Okay.
Which Xanadu means Famicom Xanadu,
Yeah.
but the games are almost nothing alike.
If there's ever an FA in a Famicom in an NES game, you know what that FA stands for.
Yeah. But Xanadu Next is really good. And
Xanadu Next, what's that on?
it's on Steam. It was on PC. And the N-Gage technically, but you don't go down that route.
No, let me just dig up my N-Gage.
Well, I try to play games on my N-Gage, but I use it for my phone calls too much.
But Xanadu Next it's sort of like it's a good blend of like a Western and Japanese RPG because it kind of plays like Diablo, but it has like the structure of like more of a Zelda game, I guess. I don't know. It's a dungeon crawler, but I guess it is a sort of like a prototype to Demon Souls where the whole world is interconnected and you can sort of find shortcuts back to previous areas, but there's like a central town. Like it's not nearly as difficult as Demon Souls or as dark. But it has a really good soundtrack.
It has been added to my Steam wish list.
There's one that hasn't come out in English yet, and I think it might eventually because they're porting it. It's called Nayuta no Kiseki, which is kind of like a sequel to the Zwei games I mentioned before, but better. And they tied it in with the Kiseki games just because that's what was popular. There's like no actual relation to it. They're like action RPGs. Again, really good soundtracks to them.
So kind of like Tokyo Xanadu, but you think better?
Yeah, a lot better. I mean, Tokyo Xanadu has like all these like boring looking dungeons that they look like they're randomly generated, but they're not. Like somebody actually sat down and made those things.
Yeah.
But no, it has a real like. It reminds me of stuff like Klonoa, I guess, in that it's like it's technically a 3D game, but it has these really like rich platformy environments to them. You have these like, it's like called gear arts where you can like ride around in a gear and kind of grapple onto different points and things. But yeah, it was stuck on the PSP forever, and they recently announced they were doing an HD version of it, and I'm assuming that somebody will probably pick it up.
Yeah.
Most Falcom games get localized by somebody nowadays.
I just want to say that I looked up that game, and the main character has the same surname as my favorite character from the Trails games.
Yeah, there's lots of small connections that they put in, like that little Mishi, I think, it's a cat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in there. There's this little like commonalities, but like don't expect like the sort of storytelling depth or even connection from the Trail series because it's not that.
Sure.
Well, like Legacy of the Wizard, the old Nintendo game, that was a Falcom game. We've sort of got them here and there. I don't know. A lot of them are ancient, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend anymore.
Fair enough. I will definitely keep an eye on that one I just added, Xanadu next.
Yeah, Xanadu next and Nayu no Kiseki are
which
good.
is probably not available through legal means.
No, I mean, if you want to give it a shot, I think there's a fan translation, but I don't think it's either it's one that just did menus or like they just Google translated the dialogue or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Especially as someone who mostly comes to Trails for the writing as like honestly hokey and saccharine as it is. I don't know if that would work for me.
I mean, I played it through in Japanese, and it's not, other than like a couple of like flags you need to find out to proceed, it's not that difficult to play. But like the game kind of flopped, so I probably got it for $10 way back when.
I feel like Trapped on the PSP is the death knell of a lot of games.
Danganronpa escaped the PSP.
I think a lot of games are escaping the PSP now. Eventually, we'll get like a Valkyria Chronicles 3, or was it?
We got a 4, and it was good.
But 3 is the classically untranslated one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It got fan translated, but it wasn't officially translated because nobody bought Valkyria Chronicles 2 because it wasn't very good.
It's such a wild departure.
Also, I tried to play it and it lagged so bad. It was like
it's a PSP game. That's one of those like times where there's just a real divide in how the Western and Japanese audiences played their games. So they're like, well, it's a total downgrade, but people in Japan were playing their PSPs. So
right, yeah, we don't have trains. Like we don't have trains everywhere.
Yeah,
just that we can take across cities or across towns. I tried to take a train that would have been like theoretically a couple hour ride to Toronto from where I am. It was 12 hours because
Jesus,
you have to go down to New York and then back upwards because our train infrastructure is not good.
That's a gentle way to put it.
Right. There's like 2 train lines and they go along the coast. Maybe there's one that goes across the middle, I'm sure. But anyway, now we've hit crested 3 hours. Now I'm actually wrapping up. We're done with bad games. We're going to go to plugs. I'm going to go clockwise. And Anthony, what have you got to plug?
Honestly, just the My First Anime podcast. You can find us on most major places where you listen to podcasts, or our Twitter's just My First Anime, and Gmail's My First Anime Podcast at gmail.com.
Chris, what have you got to plug?
I have to make sure that Twitter is correct, and it is. I have to. So, okay. Have you guys heard of AU Densetsu?
Yeah.
No, that's it. That's all I've got to plug. Check out My First Anime. It's cool.
Kurt, what have you got to plug?
Unbiased.
Just the website, I guess, hardcoregaming101.net. I'm on Twitter at HG_101. We do books a lot. There's a gigantic book of Japanese RPGs coming out probably pretty soon. I mean, we finished it up almost a year ago, but it's a process to not only get it edited, but printed in a world where international trade just gets stunted.
I hope
for numerous reasons.
Yeah, I hope you're not worrying about the Suez.
So that there's a book on shoot 'em ups, which probably should be out relatively soon. It's a follow up to previous volumes.
Yeah.
This one for beat 'em ups. I'll focus on Kunu Kun and Double Dragon and Final Fight and all the Konami stuff. This is probably later in the summer. So busy.
Is there any? What is the thing I made? Do you have any Trio of the Punch? Or
related stuff? I don't know. We it was featured in we did a book on Data East a couple years ago.
Okay.
And it was featured in there. And the artist Rusty, he definitely put the the guy between the levels.
Yeah.
I don't even remember his name but he's definitely on there.
What do you have any? What about? Is there any Knuckle Bash in that book?
Knuckle Bash? No. Was a Toaplan?
Maybe. So, yes, it is. I'm looking because, for whatever reason, my single contribution to the internet's giantbomb.com is I filled out the Knuckle Bash pages.
I mean, I kind of remember. It's not in the book because they're like between Kunio, Double Dragon, Final Fight, Konami stuff, all Capcom stuff, and Streets of Rage. That fills up like 150 pages.
It is truly forgettable.
I mean, like, we'll get to a second volume someday, and that's when we get to like the sort of Final Fight clones that mostly were not terribly good.
That never made it to the West at all, and also why would they? But
yeah, well, like stuff like Undercover Cops is cool.
Super Ninja Baseball.
Yeah.
Fucking Malus is out here posting trails as we talk about it. Who is Rian?
Oh, Reen Swartzer is the main character of Trails of Cold Steel. He's initially a student, then a teacher. Don't. Okay.
It's hard to imagine someone going from being a sister to a terrorist, but that's just what happened.
Wait, I'm sorry, a sister to a terrorist? His sister's a terrorist now?
I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense. Hold on.
You said someone make a parody account that's just making these understatements.
I don't. Sure,
anyway.
the Cold Steel saga's over. So.
Oh, if you want to play indie games, play Anodyne. Anodyne's good. I've been meaning to play Anodyne 2. I hear is also exceptionally good, and I have been meaning to play it, but I have not gotten around to it.
Also play Crosscode.
Yeah,
Crosscode.
Anyway, and I found that Massacre game is Ares Action. It's fun. It's whatever it is. Let's get Massacre in 2021. You know. Kaizo games in 2021.
Isn't that just Mario Maker now?
Yeah, but this is like it does like weird cross genre stuff. Like it's an RPG at one point, but it's also still Kaizo bullshit. It's neat. It's neat. I like it. It's neat. Go to indiepocalypse.com, indiepocalypse.com, buy Indiepocalypse, indiepocalypse.com/something. No, not that one. Indiepocalypse.com/submit if you want to submit your game. /radio to be at this radio place. I am a partner, which means if you have all those Amazon bucks and you're like, it's just burning a hole in your pocket, just click that thing that says Amazon, please, to give me $3. Indiepocalypse.com/Patreon to just get the thing. Even if you don't get an issue per week, all the issues go to the creators. Like, it basically counts as sales towards the issue in terms of royalties and that sort of thing. Indiepocalypse, if you don't know, is a monthly indie game bundle and zine that I put out. It's got a zine that has games and comics in it. It's got 10 games that all the artists get paid. It's good stuff. I like it. That's it. I think that's everything. I can't remember. I'm sure I have way more redirects, but I don't care about them right now. I just want to end the show real quick. Buy some pizza or something and then play some Link to the Past randomizer.
Indie podcast lips. Is that anything?
It's not anything. You know what that is? It's called indiepocalypse.com/radio.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We all make mistakes. And with that, I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Have a